Chapter 830. The white jade coffin hung precariously above the cliff, held back by a man in white robes. His long white hair danced in the breeze, his face handsome, and an arrogance between his brows that could not be concealed. It was none other than Son of Heaven Ji Yen. Compared to many years ago, there was an added touch of world weariness about him. His eyes observed the white jade coffin, a nostalgic expression in his gaze, and he muttered to himself, "It's been a long time since we fought side by side." His identity as the Son of Heaven was never hidden. Ever since his ascension, he roamed the celestial spirit great world with this identity. Some pledged allegiance to him, while others scoffed. Things did not develop as smoothly as he had imagined. The leading heavenly spirit Tao alliance showed him indifference, making it hard for him to find a foothold. He had no choice but to employ his life-bound divine weapon. He turned his head towards the distance, his gaze gradually becoming cold and sharp. If he couldn't uproot the heavenly spirit Tao alliance, it would be difficult for him to become the master of this realm. Becoming the world supreme was his trial in reincarnation, and he couldn't fall here. The existence of Ancestor Master Wuxia once caused him concern, but after his investigations, he dismissed those worries. As long as he did not harm the masses, Ancestor Master Wuxia would not intervene. Furthermore, he had visited the immortal gods who remained in this realm. He had a vague guess but did not reveal it. He only needed to focus on his tribulation. With that thought, he vanished with the white jade coffin from the precipice. Time continued to flow, never pausing for anyone. Millions of years passed in a blink. The dark heavenly court was eventually repelled by the celestial court, and the celestial Tao destiny of the 3,000 great worlds began to rise. More opportunities to ascend to immortality appeared in the human world. The celestial spirit great world was no exception, and one individual gained an opportunity for immortality, ascending in broad daylight, renowned throughout the lands. The desire to become immortal planted a seed deep in the hearts of all beings, making it even harder for Son of Heaven Ji Yen to act, as the awe people held for this Son of Heaven was waning. Rather than serve the immortal gods, why not strive to become one? Sir the Novelier. NET website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance was stronger than Son of Heaven Ji Yen had imagined, but with his own talent and divine weapon, the power he established over millions of years reached a level that could contend with the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. The current world power lay in the struggle between the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance and the Son of Heaven for dominion over heaven and earth. In spring, the Taoist field of the beginningless was brimming with life, with majestic landscapes as far as the eye could see. Guan was sitting in the mountain viewing pavilion, painting. Outside the pavilion, in contrast to millions of years ago, colorful small fish leapt in the cascading waterfall, adding more hues to the landscape. Two figures flew in from afar, landing swiftly in front of the mountain viewing pavilion. Zhai and Zhen Qin. Zhen Qin lifted the hood of her robe and respectfully saluted Guan. After greeting, Zhai spoke, "Ancestor, Senior Uncle Zhen has arrived." Guan turned to look at Zhen Qin, who, under his gaze, became suddenly emotional. She kneeled on the ground and said, "Master, your disciple has a request." Her expression was tense, her eyes full of anxiety. Guan did not ask Zhai to leave. Looking at Zhen Qin, he chided, "Why are you kneeling? I still prefer the old you. You rarely kneeled before me and liked to joke with me." The reason he grew close to Shangguan Xianer was not due to studying books. The real reason was that Shangguan Xianer gave him a feeling reminiscent of past interactions with Zhen Qin. To him now, engaging with others was tedious if they were too rigid. After all, he could see through people's hearts and would only care about the atmosphere of interaction, not anyone's motives. Hearing this, Zhen Qin felt ashamed. Although her master treated her as before, she was no longer the disciple of the supreme sect she once was, making it hard for her to interact with him as she used to. "Master, my disciple was captured by a great power under the Son of Heaven's command. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance and the Son of Heaven are like water and fire. I have no way to save him. Could you intervene?" Zhen Qin asked, gritting her teeth. Guan shook his head and said, "How can I stick my neck out for such matters? Your junior uncle will help you. Why not stay for a few days first?" "No, Master. I fear something will happen to him. Please save him first, and I will bring him to visit you. Will that do?" Zhen Qin said anxiously. Seeing her urgency, Guan glimpsed a shadow of her past self. "Very well, Zhai. Accompany her on the journey. Guan said helplessly, indulging Zhen Qin, a disciple with whom he shared 730 million years of master-disciple bond. Son of Heaven Ji Yen was the current heaven and earth hero. Wu Shiji disciple would not intervene in his conflict with the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and even if Nzizai had a mind to help, he still needed to consult Guan. And Nzizai immediately took his orders, and Zhen Qin thanked Guan before the two left quickly. Guan turned back to continue painting. Such matters were trivial to him. Over the long years, there would always be old friends or disciples seeking his aid, and as long as he allowed Nzizai to bring them before him, it usually meant he would agree to help them. Son of Heaven, I wonder if it is your scheme. Guan muttered, referring not to the present Son of Heaven causing unrest, Ji Yen, but to another Son of Heaven who was now rising to the power stage in the Celestial Court. This Son of Heaven had led the Celestial Court in repelling the Dark Heavenly Court, greatly enhancing his prestige and subsequently his Celestial Tao destiny. He had even entered the palace of the Pole Star to meet the Celestial Emperor. Guan did not know what they talked about, but ever since then, the Celestial Emperor disappeared, and this Son of Heaven began to take charge of the Celestial Court's authority. This Son of Heaven was ambitious, gathering various immortal gods while continuously releasing immortal fate to the human world, clearly aiming to cultivate his own following. Guan's eyes could see the future of this Son of Heaven. He was benevolent to all beings but ruthless to other sons of heaven, promising to eliminate them one by one, with Shenyuan human venerable perishing at his hands. This kind of destiny was unprecedented, emerging only after the Dark Heavenly Court was driven back. When the tribulation of Son of Heaven Ji Yen ended, and he returned to the Celestial Court, tremendous changes would occur, that was certain, but Ji Yen could not know the Celestial Court's current situation. However, these matters did not concern Guan, so long as Yang Jian, Li Xuanmiao, and the Celestial Destruction God were safe from harm. The next morning, Guan was tidying up his paintings in the mountain viewing pavilion when Nzizai returned with Zhen Qin and Su Han. Son of Heaven Ji Yen showed a lot of face to Nzizai, and with Nzizai's cultivation level, they quickly returned. Su Han was already in clean clothes, looking nothing like a prisoner and without a scratch on him. He followed behind Zhen Qin, glancing around with great excitement, his face full of expectation. The three of them came to the mountain viewing pavilion to salute Guan, and Zhen Qin even had Su Han kneel to thank Guan for his life-saving grace. It was not I who saved him. No need for such formalities, Nzizai. Show Su Han around and settle him in. Guan said, and upon hearing this, Nzizai agreed, and Su Han rose to his feet. He dared not look directly at Guan, and only regained his composure after leaving with Nzizai. Why am I so timid? Su Han was secretly annoyed. Meeting Ancestor Master Wuxia was something he looked forward to the most. He had imagined it many times, yet he never thought he would be so awkward. Even after realizing this, he still dared not turn around to look back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 831. The aspiration to ascend to immortality. Zhen Qin looked at Guan standing in the pavilion, her emotions stirring, with countless words stuck in her throat, unable to express them. Guan walked out of the mountain viewing pavilion, following the mountain path, and Zhen Qin hurriedly caught up. Your disciple has already been saved. You should also relax. Rarely coming to the beginningless, why not enjoy the scenery along the way? Guan walked ahead, speaking softly, his tone very gentle, like a spring breeze entering Zhen Qin's heart, swiftly calming her. Tell me about your experiences over the years. Upon hearing her master's words, Zhen Qin immediately began organizing her thoughts. Having Zhen Qin recount the past wasn't because Guan wanted to know, but rather he hoped to calm her down through this process. Although Zhen Qin posed as a sage, silent and taciturn around Su Han, Guan could hear her heart's voice, knowing she hadn't changed fundamentally, still lively, now preferring to keep words in her heart. Master and disciple walked through the woods, the sunlight pierced through the leaves' gaps, shining on them, as if returning to over 70 million years ago when they walked through the forest together. Though back then Guan did not have such an ethereal quality, and Zhen Qin appeared more lively, like a spirited young girl. The Taoist field of the beginningless is vast. This was Zhen Qin's impression. Nowadays, she had the cultivation of Taoist Zhangzizai immortal, but few places felt large to her, yet the beginningless did. Her past was bland, especially after meeting Su Han, mostly staying beside him for cultivation. Master, do you remember Senior Uncle Wuxin? After sharing her own story, Zhen Qin suddenly asked. Guan didn't halt his steps, moving forward while responding, "Of course, I remember. How's he now? Still alive?" "Yes, he's still alive. He's doing well. He founded the Buddhist sect. I saw him 30 million years ago. He seemed completely different, as if transcending worldly concerns, without joy or sorrow, speaking only profound truths." Zhen Qin reminisced about her meeting with Wuxin, filled with emotion. Guan also recalled the younger junior brother of old. If not for Wuxin teaching him the Taoist expansion skill, he wouldn't have created the innate reincarnation skill, which was the divine skill allowing people to survive in the early days. In fact, Wuxin living to today was secretly supported by Guan all along. Anyone surviving over 70 million years was either one of Guan's old acquaintances or the most talented cultivators in the world back then. Millions of years ago, many cultivators would return to dust, as everyone had their fate. With Guan occasionally joining in, Zhen Qin gradually opened up, expressing more emotion in her tone. Meanwhile, Su Han followed in Zizai exploring the Taoist field of the beginningless, visiting places mostly where Wushiji disciples gathered. As this journey opened his eyes, many medicinal herbs in the medicine gardens were of exceptionally high tier, and the spiritual energy they emitted felt like immortal herbs, and moreover, the disciples' cultivation seemed profound and unfathomable. It's often said the beginningless is full of hidden talents. Today proved its name wasn't false. Su Han's gaze fell upon Nzazai's back, filled with admiration. He couldn't forget the scene when Nzazai arrived yesterday. The lofty son of heaven had to show respect to Nzazai, and those cultivators who tormented him looked at him with fear and pleading. Just recalling, he felt thoroughly satisfied. This was a true powerhouse, a truly enlightened great power. No need to lift a finger to subdue all formidable enemies. "Senior, I want to ask about joining the Wuxia sect. What needs to be done?" Su Han plucked up the courage to ask. And Zizai turned slightly, looking at him out of the corner of his eye, smiling. "Call me senior brother. We belong to the same generation. Wanting to join the beginningless isn't difficult for you, as you've already entered." He knew Guan very well. If Guan resisted Su Han, he wouldn't have brought him back along with Su Han. He could have sent Su Han back to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Upon hearing this, Su Han's heartbeat quickened. He asked eagerly, "Senior brother, you speak of being peers. Is Master also a Wushiji disciple?" Search * the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. From being rescued to returning to the beginningless, there were no words spoken. Zhen Qin kept a gloomy face, not daring to speak. He was unaware of his master's relationship with the beginningless. He thought of his master's expression whenever mentioning ancestor Master Wuxia, secretly confirming his suspicions. He always believed his master had some connection with the beginningless. "Yes, your master is the ancestor's disciple. If counted carefully, she is my master's senior sister. Over 70 million years ago, within a sect named Supreme Sect on the Taitsong continent, the ancestor hid in the outer sect's Medicine Valley." And Zizai began recounting that past. Although he hadn't personally witnessed it, he had memorized the story early on. Su Han was absorbed in listening, not expecting his master's relationship with ancestor Master Wuxia to be so deep. He wondered why his master left the beginningless. Su Han puzzled silently. These puzzles were for later inquiries. He needed to find a way to make his mark in the beginningless. For some reason, since hearing the legends of the beginningless, he always felt he was meant to belong there. Such a holy place of cultivation suited a genius like him. Among the beginningless were several who had stayed at the Supreme Sect. Guan took Zhen Qin to meet Xin Zhen. The two women had been on good terms before. They were happy to see each other, so Guan let them chat privately. Zhen Qin's joining didn't stir much within the beginningless, as outsiders often came to visit. Su Han's experiences were merely a reflection of the world's major movements, with friction between the Son of Heaven and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance intensifying, approaching full-scale conflict. Several years later, in the Taitsong dynasty's imperial palace, Li Xiandao, in his dragon robe, sat on the dragon throne, exuding a dominating aura of ruling the world, his posture slightly lazy yet giving a sense of a true dragon-coiled pressure. Li Zuando's gaze fell upon the hall. There stood only one person, Son of Heaven Jie Yan. Jie Yan, wearing a golden dragon black robe, with white hair casually draped, a sword suspended behind him, its blade a palm's width, the sword body of a white jade hue, while at the sword guard appeared two qilin in contention, overall exquisitely crafted yet exuding an ancient air. The Son of Heaven and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance are at odds. My Taizong dynasty should not get involved. Li Xiandao slowly spoke, his tone indifferent. Having been emperor for over 70 million years, he was seen almost as a celestial emperor in the eyes of Taizong's people, and being experienced, he wouldn't feel nervous about the visit from Son of Heaven Jie Yan. He had seen immortal gods, much less a reincarnated Son of Heaven. Over the long years, countless prodigies emerged in the human world, from immortal gods descending to the demon monarch reincarnating, all witnessed. Son of Heaven Jie Yan spoke. Throughout history, the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance has only restrained sex, establishing a kind of order distinguishing immortals from mortals. The imperial dynasty was not bound by the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance yet lost the upward opportunity. Your Majesty should feel the development of the Taizong dynasty has reached a bottleneck. Only by overthrowing the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance is there a glimmer of hope. Moreover, I can guide immortal fate into the Taizong dynasty, allowing your Majesty to ascend to immortality and granting your people the aspiration to ascend. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 832. Great Destiny descends. Facing Ji Yan's words, Li Xiandao remained indifferent. He raised his right hand, his gaze examining the 3 jade rings on his hand, and softly replied, "Without you, Son of Heaven, would the human world find no immortal fate? Would mortals not yearn to ascend to immortality?" Although his voice was soft, it echoed clearly within the great hall. Son of Heaven Ji Yan answered, "I can make you and your people closer to immortal fate." How many imperial dynasties are there in the world? How many do you intend to win over? All of them. If it's all of them, even if you succeed, how can I be sure you will choose me? The Taizong dynasty is already the oldest imperial dynasty in the world. Your lack of contention has led people to overlook the foundation of the Taizong dynasty, and what's more, you have the care of ancestor Master Wuxia. Then may I ask if the celestial court has an emperor immortal position? Li Xiandao smiled as he spoke these words. Son of Heaven Ji Yan's expression became subtle, his gaze somewhat cold, and he replied, "Naturally, apart from the Supreme Celestial Emperor, there are the 4 Celestial Tao Great Emperors, and further down, 36 Emperor Stars, all positions for which rulers with accomplishments may compete." So many emperors. Why does it feel like they are merely titles? Li Xiandao squinted his eyes, his tone growing aggressive. He leaned forward and said, "Son of Heaven, I've long heard tales like yours. I've seen and heard of many who wish to use the world as their chessboard. In the end, none met a good fate. If you truly represent the heavenly Tao, you wouldn't bring about a great calamity in the human world. If the Celestial Emperor truly wanted you to be the supreme in every life, I suspect it would not be by stepping upon countless bones to ascend to the supreme position." Son of Heaven Ji Yan raised an eyebrow and sneered. "What? Does His Majesty think that unifying the world relies on benevolence and love? I merely think that the means and levels of the immortal should be above mortals. The means you've shown make me feel no different from mortals. Pardon me, but I cannot agree." After speaking, Li Xiandao kept his gaze fixed on Son of Heaven Ji Yan. Their eyes met, confronting each other, and the atmosphere in the hall grew tense, filled with quiet oppression. For a long time, Son of Heaven Ji Yan withdrew his gaze and smiled. "Since that's the case, then I'll take my leave." He turned and left. In the moment of turning, his expression became exceptionally cold. Li Xiandao sat on the emperor's throne, watching him depart. Once Son of Heaven Ji Yan left the great hall, Li Zuando's face showed a contemptuous smile and he snorted, "The immortal gods don't have a more comfortable position than mine, and moreover," his gaze looking upwards, seeming to pierce through the palace eaves to see the firmament, "I have no desire to become one of the immortal gods. But if it's to be Celestial Emperor, I am quite interested." Thinking of being Celestial Emperor, you must be ignorant of the heights of the heavens and depths of the earth. By the lakeside, Guan glanced at Su Han, who was fishing, and mocked. It has been hundreds of years since Su Han and Zhen Qin came to the Taoist field of the beginningless. The master and disciple have settled there, and ever since Guan pointed out Su Han's swordsmanship, Su Han often sought his guidance, and gradually, Su Han began to cultivate alongside Guan. This has led to much discussion among the disciples. No one dared to imitate Su-han. Although Su-han was thick-skinned, it was evident to all that this was the ancestors' favoritism towards him. What's more, upon entry, Su-han was already a third-generation disciple, his seniority surpassing 90% of the disciples of the beginningless. Su-han sat beside Guan, holding a sword, and huffed, "Why am I ignorant of the heights and depths? Is the Celestial Emperor born to be Celestial Emperor? Certainly, he cultivated to that position. As long as I become strong enough, I can achieve it sooner or later. Then I'll make the beginningless holy sect, supervise the heavenly court immortals. The current immortals are truly unrestrained, lacking control. That son of heaven abducted many imperial rulers, coercing their dynasties into battles for him. His hypocritical mask is eventually torn by himself." Guan gazed at the lake's surface and said, "You have only seen a few immortal gods, yet you dare speculate about the Celestial Emperor. Most immortal gods never see the Celestial Emperor in their lifetime. The Celestial Emperor's might is beyond your imagination. You cannot imagine it, let alone surpass it." These words are true. All beings relying on the celestial Tao destiny can never surpass the Celestial Emperor. Their cultivation would only help the Celestial Emperor grow stronger. Guan possesses the strength to rival the Celestial Emperor primarily by harnessing the power of lifespan evolution. To this day, he is certain that his power originates outside the heavenly Tao, perhaps existing longer than the heavenly Tao itself. If one cannot possess opportunities outside the heavenly Tao like him, one should not dream of surpassing the Celestial Emperor. Just like how the primordial Tao Emperor cannot surpass him. "Ancestor, have you ever seen the Celestial Emperor?" Su-han curiously asked, looking at Guan expectantly. In the myths of the celestial spirit great world, Ancestor Master Wushi's status is in no way inferior to the Celestial Emperor, perhaps even higher because he has saved the heavens and earth numerous times, even defending against unjust immortal gods for all beings. "Never seen him. I've never even been to the celestial court," Guan casually replied. "Then why don't you want to become immortal? What is the purpose of ascending to immortality?" "Naturally, for longevity and immortality. I already have longevity and immortality. Why need to become immortal? Then to become stronger? Even as I speak with you now, my cultivation level increases. You cling to me, your cultivation level stagnates, but mine does not. Do you know how I achieve this?" "How do you achieve this?" Su-han was stupefied. He thought the ancestor's words were too extravagant. Constantly growing stronger? If true, no wonder no one can catch up to him. Guan answered, "When you reach a certain realm, you will naturally achieve this, but until then, you need to endure very long years, long enough for the celestial spirit great world to perish, and you must persevere." Su-han followed his words, only feeling a chill in his heart. Though he was a cultivator, he seemed insignificant in the face of time. He did not know how to cultivate to live longer than the celestial spirit great world. At this moment, a brilliant light erupted from the sky, causing heaven and earth to pale. Su-han instinctively looked up, but saw nothing. This burst of bright light appeared suddenly and faded quickly. Su-han regained his vision and looked intently, his complexion slightly changing, only to see countless fire phoenixes appearing on the horizon, as if coming from outer heaven, flying towards the distant land. There are dozens, incredibly magnificent. "What is that?" Su-han couldn't help asking. He had never seen so many phoenixes before. After the celestial spirit great world reshaped, many heaven and earth spiritual objects, including phoenixes, cheilants, true dragons, were born. But he felt the phoenixes at the horizon were not simple, evidently hailing from outer heaven. Guan looked up and smiled. "Who said there are no rules watching the immortal gods? See, trouble is coming for that son of heaven." "Trouble is coming? Is it immortal gods descending?" Su-han curiously asked. CTH Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. No, it is someone bearing heaven and earth's grand destiny about to be born. He will be the most brilliant figure in the world and surely ascend to the pinnacle of the human world, sweeping away all powerful foes. Guan laughed. His words sparked many associations for Su-han. He wanted to ask, how does his aptitude compare to the one soon to be born? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 833. Celestial phenomena descended from the sky, auspicious omens swirled, attracting the attention of great sects across the world. Years later, rumors spread that a child of heaven and earth had been born. Sar the Oval Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. This child of heaven and earth was born in a city under the banner of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. His parents came from a world clan, and though unremarkable within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, they still had a certain heritage. At the mere birth of this child, celestial phenomena were triggered. It is said that an alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, upon seeing the child, immediately decided to take him as a disciple, proclaiming that he would be the future of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. This matter caused a great stir, as countless living beings saw the phoenixes flying across the sky. Before he even came of age, this child of heaven and earth was already renowned throughout the world. Guan Tianyu. Decades later, his fame even reached the Taoist field of the beginningless. On this day, Guan was practicing swordplay in a bamboo forest. His movements not fast but elegant and lively. Ancestor, that fellow with great destiny has become famous. He's only 30 and already reached nirvana. Su Han's voice reached Guan before he himself did. Zhen Qin was already in seclusion for cultivation, whereas Su Han was restless, often coming to bother Guan. Guan seemed impatient, but in truth, he quite enjoyed it. After all, he was idle, and having someone to accompany him was a good thing. Since Su Han had no mission he must complete, Guan hoped he would live this life calmly and steadily. Compared to the Su Han of his past life, the Su Han of this life was too lively and cheerful, no longer the gloomy and ruthless person of before, as if they were two different people. Guan did not respond, and when he arrived in front of him, Su Han continued. Although many living beings in the world are born into the nirvana realm, he is human. To cultivate from a mortal to the nirvana realm in just 30 years is truly remarkable. I am beginning to believe he is the greatest talent of all time. Ancestor, you said before that he was born in response to destiny and arose responding to calamity. Could it be that he will become the rival of the Son of Heaven? The Son of Heaven and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance had not yet fully waged war, but their conflicts were constant, and everyone knew an entrenched and protracted time of chaos was coming. Currently, the Son of Heaven Jie Yen had already grown powerful, and with a divine weapon in his hands, no one within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance could suppress him. Of course, if that innate golden immortal were to return, there might be hope, but the innate golden immortal had long since gone to outer heaven to seek the Tao, ignoring worldly affairs. Perhaps he might. Guan, while practicing swordplay, answered. Despite the simplicity of the swordsmanship, when he performed it, there seemed to be a sense of profound mystery. Ancestor, you said that the birth of the child of heaven and earth at such a critical moment suggests that heaven disapproves of the Son of Heaven. And behind heaven is the heavenly Tao, so could it be that the celestial emperor in the legends dislikes him? After all, there are many sons of heaven, or perhaps the celestial emperor has his own favored son of heaven and fears he will obstruct him. The royal family of human dynasties often has such occurrences. Su Han spoke enthusiastically, deeply interested in the future grand structure of the world. Since arriving at the beginningless, his perspective had broadened overnight, and he could hear about every major event under heaven, making him feel as if he were standing outside the red dust, observing the rise and fall of the tides. This feeling was wonderful, more wonderful than ever before in his life, and he thoroughly enjoyed his current life. Guan shot him a glance and said, I've said it before, don't use mortal concepts to speculate about the celestial emperor. Su Han chuckled and said, Ancestor, why do I feel that you hold the celestial emperor in high esteem? You don't act this way when talking about other immortal gods or worldly great figures. That's because I know how strong he truly is. Who is stronger, the celestial emperor or you? Faced with Su Han's question, Guan smiled and said, It's 50-50. What does 50-50 mean? Both he and I have a 50% chance of victory. Hiss! Su Han gasped in shock. Although he was blindly reverent, he was at least a cultivator and knew what the celestial court celestial emperor represented. One could say, the celestial emperor epitomized the entire heavenly Tao. Could Ancestor really be as strong as the heavenly Tao? He was suddenly excited, his gaze at Guan glowing with admiration. For a moment, He was at a loss for words, gazing at Guan with reverence. "I'm telling you this alone, you mustn't tell anyone else, or you'll invite trouble," Guan urged sincerely. He had concealed his cultivation level from the Su-Han of the previous life, making Su-Han believe he was cornered. In this life, he intended to treat Su-Han differently. Moreover, he wasn't worried about news leaking out. If Su-Han went about spreading it, he could erase Su-Han's memory of these words in an instant, erasing their influence as well. "You're constantly concerned with world affairs. What requirements do you have for yourself?" Guan diverted the conversation. Su-Han scratched his head and said, "I used to want to become the most powerful in the world, but after being defeated by the Son of Heaven's followers, I realized that mere passionate fervor wasn't enough. After joining the beginningless, my mindset has changed. I now think that the worldly distinctions of strength and weakness are meaningless. Compared to you, those who stir the winds and clouds of the world are nothing. They will eventually perish. Now, I wish to cultivate the path of longevity with you. In terms of ambition, you're far behind your grandfather. My grandfather was a great hero with the world in his heart. I'm not as noble as him. I can't compare, really can't compare." Su-Han shamelessly laughed, knowing the connection between his grandfather and ancestor. His grandfather had risen to prominence based on the legacy of the heaven-splitting axe left by ancestor, a fact known throughout the world. Thinking of this, he looked forward to life by ancestor's side even more. Millions of years later, standing beside ancestor looking towards the human world, what wondrous sight would it be? Cultivate well. When your cultivation level is sufficient, I can recommend you to become an immortal official in the celestial court. Really? Does beginningless truly have immortal fate? Truth or falsehood, the future will reveal. While answering, Guan swung his sword at him, causing him to hurriedly evade. The sunlight shone on the edge of his sword, casting a cold, sharp light, as if the entire world was losing its color. Time continued to pass, and finally, the forces of the Son of Heaven and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance engaged in war. It was the Son of Heaven Jie Yen who declared war, coming alone to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance to declare war and causing a great disturbance. Although he did not destroy the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, he caused significant losses, leading the intolerable Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance to officially announce to the world their intention to eliminate all of the Son of Heaven's forces. Once more, the human world transitioned from peace to an era of turmoil. It is easier for heroic figures to emerge in turbulent times. Born with great destiny and hailed as the child of heaven and earth, Guan Tianyu rapidly matured through battles, ushering in a new era for all living beings. The new era bore new shining talents, and Guan Tianyu was the brightest of those stars. Millions of years later, Guan Tianyu reached the Zizai immortal realm, his power so formidable that even the Son of Heaven Jie Yen admired and frequently sought to recruit him. On this day, the celestial gate deep within the universe lit up, startling the celestial spirit god to rise and pay respects, awaiting the emergence of the being within the gate. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 834, The Only Chance of Survival Inside the World Gate. The strong light of the heavenly Tao shone, casting a long shadow of the celestial spirit god, who maintained a posture of greeting with his head lowered. Soon, a sound of footsteps reached his ears, slightly hurried. An old immortal stepped out from within. It was Zixuan Old Immortal who served Shenyuan Human Venerable. He wore a white robe, holding a horsetail whisk in hand, with white hair coiled beneath a crown. His immortal crown resembling a silver mountain with birds seemingly circling it, along with landscapes painted on it. He came to the front of the celestial spirit god, smiled, and asked, "Celestial spirit god, have you been well lately?" The celestial spirit god looked up and answered, "Quite well. Has the immortal monarch come to look for the ancestor master?" S.E.A. The Novel Fire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. No, this humble Taoist has come to find you. To find me? I wonder what instructions the immortal monarch has? Facing the celestial spirit god's inquiry, Zixuan Old Immortal's smile disappeared. He took a deep breath, and said, "Something big is about to happen in the celestial court." The celestial spirit god raised an eyebrow. Although the celestial spirit great world had enjoyed peaceful times for tens of millions of years, such time wasn't considered long in the celestial court, So why was there trouble again for the celestial court? Could it be related to the dark heavenly court? The last time the dark heavenly court attacked the celestial court, although he didn't return to join the battle, he had observed that great war. It was the first time he witnessed the power of the dark heavenly court, which made him increasingly convinced that the celestial court was not the absolute ruler. Many powerful forces were hidden within the chaos, and even within the heavenly Tao were beings of great power like the primordial ancestor master. Sichuan Old Immortal said, "It's not an external catastrophe. It's an internal power struggle within the celestial court." Hearing this, the celestial spirit god breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, then it's not a big deal. The treacheries in the celestial court were numerous. The reason he stayed in the celestial spirit great world, not pledging allegiance to any other powerful immortal gods, was to avoid becoming a pawn. Immortal gods are immortal, but only if they retain their immortal positions. If they choose the wrong side and have their immortal positions stripped away, immortality becomes an empty promise, and even one's cultivation level might turn to nothing. The first thought that came to the celestial spirit god upon hearing Sichuan Old Immortal's words was that something had happened to Shenyuan Human Venerable. According to past competitions for the Son of Heaven, even if a Son of Heaven won, they wouldn't gain the benefits Shenyuan Human Venerable did: the vast celestial Tao destiny, many immortal position qualifications, and even the dominion over the 3,000 great worlds. Such prominence would surely invite jealousy. With the celestial emperor absent and Kangshins will unpredictable, those sons of heaven would certainly set their sights on Shenyuan Human Venerable. "Please speak plainly, immortal monarch. Is there anything I can do?" the celestial spirit god said softly. No matter the issue, as long as it didn't threaten the celestial spirit great world, he was too indifferent to care, and he couldn't manage it. Today, the Son of Heaven Taishang governs the celestial court's power. He has cast 17 sons of heaven into reincarnation, and the Son of Heaven Xian Qing, with whom you have a father-son bond, is under investigation and may face disaster. Sichuan Old Immortal's words made the celestial spirit god frown. He couldn't deny that he was indeed concerned about Tian Hao. It was unclear whether it was because of Su Jin or due to chasing the supreme treasure of the immortal palace, delaying countless years. In any case, he would now and then visit the misty immortal court. However, for so many years, he had never met Tian Hao face to face, only watched silently. Sichuan Old Immortal continued, "Besides the Son of Heaven Xian Qing, His Highness Shenyuan Human Venerable will also face difficulties, because the Son of Heaven Xian Qing is within the 3,000 great worlds. With so many sons of heaven, the Supreme Son of Heaven chooses to settle accounts with Xian Qing, clearly as an excuse, aiming at His Highness Human Venerable, but whether it's an excuse or not, it is a great trouble for both your highnesses, with no retreat." Knowing he was right, the celestial spirit god felt he couldn't shake the celestial court with his current power. He asked in a deep voice, "Please speak plainly, immortal monarch. What can I do? What should I do?" "Summon back the Son of Heaven Xian Qing." When Sichuan Old Immortal said this, his gaze was firmly locked on the celestial spirit god. The celestial spirit god suddenly understood Sichuan Old Immortal's intention. He took a deep breath and said, "Is this His Highness' will, or the immortal monarch's intention? Does it matter? I understand. I will consider it." The celestial spirit god answered. He did not give a promise. Sichuan Old Immortal nodded, then turned to walk towards the world gate. Just as his figure was about to vanish in the strong light, his voice once again sounded, "This matter indeed puts you in a difficult position, but you should know, in the face of such authority, we have no choice. It is the only chance of survival." The strong light of the world gate flickered. After a while, it faded, and the celestial spirit god still stood in front of the world gate. He clenched his fists tightly, hesitating on whether to seek the primordial ancestor master. After contemplating a while, he decided to first make a trip to the human world. He needed to see someone. In the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, inside a palace, Guan sat in front of a small table, sipping wine, while on the steps beside him, Ji Xiaoyu also had a small table in front of her, drinking with him. Besides fine wine, their tables were adorned with some snacks and fruits, exquisitely arranged. Guan picked up a piece of cake, savoring it carefully. The fragrance entered his mouth, making him nod slightly. Ji Xiaoyu put down her cup, looked at Guan, and asked, "Did you come to find me for a simple chat?" Guan glanced at her, annoyed. "What kind of talk is that? Have I ever troubled you when I came to find you in the past?" Ji Xiaoyu replied, "I'm not afraid you're bothering me, I'm just afraid you're here to help me. Don't meddle in this calamity of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, or things will change, and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance will veer off course. Guan chuckled, shaking his head in amusement. Don't laugh. Your current status in the human world is quite special. If you support the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, it might become like a celestial court on Earth, thriving perpetually, and internally become complacent, eventually causing trouble and harming all living beings. Ji Xiaoyu said, frowning seriously. Guan helplessly replied, I laugh because you underestimate me. Have I ever meddled in the human world's power struggles? Back at the Supreme Sect, I merely protected them from falling, but if the Supreme Sect had done evil and was sought out for revenge, I wouldn't have intervened either. Hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu smiled and didn't dwell on the issue any longer. Instead, she asked, what do you think of Guan Tianyu? This child's destiny is unparalleled. The timing of his birth is so coincidental, as if he were born to contend with the sons of heaven. Even when besieged by the sons of heaven's followers and driven to desperation, he can turn danger into safety and encounter great opportunities, truly astounding. She majored in the path of cause and effect, which made her perceive Guan Tianyu's birth as not simple. In her view, Guan Tianyu carried some kind of mission. What concerned her was what this mission represented, and what its purpose was. Guan was just about to speak when a loud voice resounded from outside the palace. Haven't seen for 100,000 years. How has the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance become even more miserable? It seems the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance can't hold on. Why not surrender early to me? This voice brimmed with dominance, mocking the decline of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and its owner was none other than the son of heaven Jie Yan. Hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu looked at Guan with a meaningful gaze. Now, do you still deny your purpose for coming this time? Guan turned his head to look at her, chuckling softly. If I hadn't come, perhaps you wouldn't escape this calamity. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 835. The creation of heaven and earth can't escape this calamity. Ji Xiaoyu was shocked by Gu An's words. According to her deductions, while Son of Heaven Jie Yan would indeed cause great trouble for the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, it shouldn't be enough to shake its foundations. She rarely intervened in the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance's affairs. If she needed to act, it would certainly be at a time of life and death for the Alliance. For a moment, countless speculations filled her mind. Could it be that Son of Heaven Jie Yan has enlisted other immortal gods? No matter how strong Son of Heaven Jie Yan is, he's still a reincarnated being, having a mortal body like them. The reason he can stand against the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance is mainly due to wielding that divine sword. Guan continued to savor the wine, enjoying the fine food and drink Ji Xiaoyu had prepared for him. After the voice of Son of Heaven Jie Yan fell silent, a surge of powerful auras rose outside the hall. No voices echoed into the palace, yet the great battle had already erupted. Gu An and Ji Xiaoyu began to watch the unfolding conflict. Ji Xiaoyu was already an innate golden immortal, but her true cultivation level was a secret, unknown within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. From her perspective, Son of Heaven Jie Yan could not possibly win. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance currently had several heaven-encompassing free immortals stationed, with profound Yuan free immortals numbering over 100. There was no fear of the Son of Heaven. The Son of Heaven's foundation and forces were far inferior to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. It was just that the Son of Heaven himself was formidable. With the divine sword in his hand, the current Son of Heaven Jie Yan could fight several heaven-encompassing free immortals without defeat, but that was as far as he could go. Where exactly is the problem? Ji Xiaoyu thought to herself, her gaze subconsciously turning to Gu En. She knew that if Guan spoke such words, he certainly wasn't trying to scare her. Seeing that Guan had no intention of elaborating further, Ji Xiaoyu chose not to ask more, trusting that an answer would soon present itself. After a while, Guan asked, You haven't answered me yet. How do you view Guan Tianyu? What is his origin? Guan looked at her, smiling. Aren't there already many legends explaining it? Could he just be the child of heaven and earth? The creations of heaven and earth are far beyond your imagination. When cultivators grasp the power to destroy the heavens and the earth, they start to underestimate heaven and earth. You think heaven and earth can't have such marvelous creations, so you suspect Guan Tianyu must have a grander origin, isn't that right? Gu An's words led Ji Xiaoyu into deep thought, realizing she indeed harbored such a mindset. In her view, the celestial spirit great world shouldn't harbor such talent. Guan Tianyu's emergence must have been orchestrated by a more powerful entity. Guan continued, with 3,000 great Tao and infinite creations, all beings possess a sense of pride, thinking they can master everything and that they are unique, thus neglecting the heaven and earth that bore them. If beings are indeed the most wondrous of creations, then the heaven and earth nurturing them must operate on an even higher level. He spoke of his understanding. Though heaven and earth seem fragile, their creations are supreme. Even if a world turns to ashes, its creative force remains and will give birth to new worlds, though mortal spirits can't perceive this creation. Only a Tao extreme Daluo immortal can barely glimpse this omnipresent, immense creation imperceptible to mortal spirits. And surpassing a Daluo immortal, one can further perceive the creation of heaven and earth. Though the celestial spirit great world is weak, it remains a great thousand world that has existed for countless years. The creation it secretly harbors is beyond the imagination of all living beings, and the impending crisis from Son of Heaven Jieyan's arrival has prompted it to bring about Guan Tianyu. Though Guan Tianyu is born of the human race, the mystic destiny of heaven and earth continually transforms him. To put it bluntly, unless a power surpassing the celestial spirit great world emerges, no one can slay Guan Tianyu within this world, not even if he wished to die. The creation of heaven and earth. Ji Xiaoyu was lost in contemplation. It seemed she had grasped something, quickly transitioning to a state of enlightenment, forgetting her own calamity. She could enter this state so swiftly not due to exceptional comprehension, but because Guan enveloped her with his Tao intent, aiding her enlightenment. Guan watched Ji Xiaoyu with expectant eyes. He had many old friends, and while he cherished them all emotionally, in terms of potential, only Ji Xiaoyu could surpass and carve her own path, possibly even beyond what he foresaw. Moreover, Ji Xiaoyu held a competitive spirit towards him, desiring to surpass him, thus he eagerly anticipated her growth. He suddenly understood the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor allowed immortal gods to act wantonly, allowed the dark heavenly court to grow, perhaps genuinely hoping for someone to challenge him. Upon reconsideration, Guan felt he had misunderstood. How could he empathize with the Celestial Emperor? He mustn't adopt such a mindset. He can look forward to others growing stronger, but mustn't consider himself the strongest. While Ji Xiaoyu was in enlightenment, Guan repeatedly instilled a notion in himself. He is not yet the strongest. There are stronger beings within the heavenly Tao. He wasn't thinking of the Celestial Emperor, but of an existence yet to appear. Much time passed. Ji Xiaoyu suddenly awoke, opening her eyes to find the celestial vault outside the hall had dimmed. She turned her head to see Guan had already risen, standing before a stone pillar, reading the inscriptions upon it. "I'm sorry, Ji Xiaoyu began, but her words trailed off as she became captivated by Guan's silhouette. With his back to her and head raised, Guan emanated an inexplicable allure, a longing for the great Tao. Hearing her, Guan turned to her with a smile. "So, what did you comprehend earlier?" "I grasped some truths about the Tao of heaven and earth, thank you." Ji Xiaoyu earnestly replied. "Why thank me? I did nothing." "I understand." Ji Xiaoyu was well aware of her own comprehension. After countless years of meditation, such an opportunity for enlightenment was rare. It wasn't a coincidence that Guan's presence came with insights, clearly indicating his guidance. Just as Guan was about to speak, a gust of wind from outside swept in, billowing his black robe. Sitting at the table, Ji Xiaoyu narrowed her eyes, sensing a formidable aura approaching. Son of Heaven Jieyan. Sar the Ovalfire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She wasn't sure how long her enlightenment had lasted, but awakening to Son of Heaven Jieyan's aggressive arrival shook her, while also instilling admiration for Guan. He had truly anticipated it. Soon, a beam of silver light shot into the hall, transforming into a human figure that landed and took 3 steps forward before stopping. It was indeed Son of Heaven Jieyan, disheveled, wielding a silver divine sword. His robes were blood-stained, clearly just emerging from a brutal battle. Son of Heaven Jieyan glanced at Ji Xiaoyu, then at the divine sword in his hand, which was vibrating. Unexpectedly drawn to this woman, could she harbor some powerful great Tao creation? Son of Heaven Jie Yen was silently surprised. Raising his eyes to Ji Xiaoyu, he asked, "Which alliance hierarch of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance are you?" Following his gaze to Guan, his eyebrows furrowed slightly. Guan stood beside the stone pillar, observing him, yet Son of Heaven Jie Yen couldn't discern Guan's cultivation level. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 836. Guan looked at Son of Heaven Ji Yen, his eyes filled with mockery, making Son of Heaven Ji Yen very uncomfortable. However, with the divine sword in hand, Son of Heaven Ji Yen was not panicked. The divine sword he held was of great origin, capable of devouring the true meaning of the great Tao and enhancing sword intent. Of course, this sword could only absorb the true meaning of the great Tao cultivated by immortal cultivators, not the great Tao itself. He came to this palace as led by the divine sword in his hand, attracted by the presence of Ji Xiaoyu. Son of Heaven Ji Yen looked at Ji Xiaoyu again, waiting for her response. Ji Xiaoyu could feel the malicious intent in his sword, yet she did not panic, for Guan was also here. She was more curious now. Could this child rely on the sword to take her life? She trusted Guan's judgment, just curious how this sword would kill her. My name is Ji Xiaoyu. May I know why the Son of Heaven has come to me? Ji Xiaoyu asked, her tone indifferent, her gaze calm. Her composure confused Son of Heaven Ji Yen, making him ask, "Since you know I am the Son of Heaven, why don't you take action? Why have I never seen you in the previous great battles?" "Because I dislike fighting," Ji Xiaoyu replied. This remark made Guan laugh. In the past, Ji Xiaoyu was a battle maniac on the path of the great Tao, and she still wished to have a good fight with him. Ji Xiaoyu glanced at him, making him immediately retract his smile. Son of Heaven Ji Yen raised his sword, the blade pointed at Ji Xiaoyu, and said, "Your companions were lured away by my avatar. No one will come to save you. It's just your fate to become my sword intent since you possess great destiny." As he spoke, his wrist twisted, and the sword blade rotated, unleashing a terrifying sword intent that rushed towards Ji Xiaoyu. Boom! The small table before Ji Xiaoyu turned to ashes, her robe billowed, her black hair flew, yet her eyebrows did not furrow, nor did she blink. Son of Heaven Ji Yan's pupils contracted. Following his gaze, there was an additional figure in front of the steps. It was Guan. Guan stood sidewise to Son of Heaven Ji Yen, blocking his sword intent. The vast sword intent caused Guan's robes to flutter continuously, his hair floated up, but it could not shake his posture. Son of Heaven Ji Yen frowned and asked, "Who are you?" His heart surged with vigilance towards Guan, who seemed casual in his actions, but the sword intent he emitted was serious, and his moves were lethal. Guan glanced at Son of Heaven Ji Yen and said, "Even with me here, you should have precaution." Ji Xiaoyu's lips slightly curved upward and she said, "You said I couldn't escape my fate. I am certainly no match for him. I can't let you come here for nothing." As the two conversed as if alone, Son of Heaven Ji Yan's eyes turned cold, and he immediately intensified his sword intent, causing the entire palace to tremble. Unfortunately, no matter how much he heightened his sword intent, he could not threaten Guan, and he felt as if facing the great Tao, no matter how much mana or sword intent he used, the great Tao could swallow his attack. This feeling sank his heart. After a few seconds, Son of Heaven Ji Yen sheathed his sword. Guan turned to him, eyes falling on the sword in his hand. This sword is extraordinary, crafted by a Xian Qi primordial immortal, who is also among the Celestial Tao venerable ranks. Indeed, Celestial Tao venerables would support a Son of Heaven. Every Son of Heaven capable of causing trouble had a backing. "Just who are you?" Son of Heaven Ji Yen asked in a deep voice, certain he was no match for the other. /P. The Celestial Spirit Great World still hides such characters. Could he be from Wuxia? But Wuxia wouldn't engage in worldly conflicts. Guan replied, "Son of Heaven, you may undergo your trials, but don't be too hasty or use rule-breaking powers." Upon hearing this, Son of Heaven Ji Yan's face turned grim. He was about to speak when Guan's voice rang out. "Considering his favor, I won't kill you, but I will punish you slightly." With that, Guan suddenly swung his sleeve, and a fierce wind rose from the ground, rushing towards Son of Heaven Ji Yen. Everything happened too quickly for Son of Heaven Ji Yen to react. With a boom, He was thrown out like a beam of cold light rushing out of the palace. A terrifying force enveloped him, preventing him from steadying himself, sensing the scenery around him changing rapidly. He flew out of the little world, crashed through mountains, crossed rivers, and passed through clouds. His worldview shook violently. He collided against mountains, one after another, causing his chi blood to churn, his body unpleasant, forcing him to grit his teeth and tightly grip the sword in his hand. Sar the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. After a while, he crashed into an incredibly solid mountain, bringing him to a halt, chi blood surging, a mouthful of reverse blood sprayed out. He felt all the mana within him dissipate. The world before him stopped shaking, becoming clear, and ahead lay a vast prairie, blue skies, white clouds, and a cloud sea split into two halves, seemingly cut by a sharp sword. He was embedded into an incredibly majestic mountain, appearing like a heavenly wall compared to the mountains on either side. Smooth mountain walls with little flora but dense forests atop. This mountain stood at least 10,000 feet tall, utterly magnificent. Son of Heaven Ji Yen was horrified to find he could not rise. An unimaginable invisible force pressed him, unable even to shatter the mountain behind. In 500 years, you will be able to free yourself. You can see how people will speak of you 500 years later. Guwen's voice reached his ears, causing his expression to turn fearful. You can't do this. Son of Heaven Ji Yen gritted his teeth, finally roaring in anger. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the palace, Guwen's robe was still fluttering. Ji Xiaoyu stood up, looked into the distance, and asked, "What is that mountain? Why haven't I seen it before?" Guwen retracted his sleeves, turned to her and smiled. Just built for him. Ji Xiaoyu was secretly astonished. She could also create a mountain, but doing so like Guwen while simultaneously taking action and creating a mountain without causing much commotion was beyond her ability. Sealing Son of Heaven Ji Yen with a single mountain, the power contained within was unimaginable. 500 years is an imitation of your Sun Wukong novel, isn't it? Ji Xiaoyu asked, clearly teasing, yet asking seriously. Guwen laughed. Just came to mind. He turned and walked toward the palace door. Aren't you afraid of trouble? Ji Xiaoyu pursued. 500 years later, Son of Heaven Ji Yen might cause greater trouble upon his return. Without looking back, Guwen replied, he doesn't count as trouble in my eyes. You said you wouldn't involve yourself in worldly struggles. Would this be considered an exception? Faced with Ji Xiaoyu's inquiry, Guwen did not answer, quickly disappearing from the hall. Ji Xiaoyu sat down again, her gaze towards the distance. She could see many great powers across the world flying towards the mountain-sealing Son of Heaven Ji Yen. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 837. Heavenly Suppressing Heroic Peak. The Son of Heaven Ji Yen has been suppressed. This news was like a bombshell, shaking the world. The speed at which it spread was unprecedented. All beings thought that a catastrophe was imminent, but unexpectedly, the Son of Heaven was suppressed. Without the Son of Heaven, the Son of Heaven's forces were far from enough to shake the foundation of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Various forces began to investigate the news and dispatched cultivators to verify its authenticity. The giant peak suppressing the Son of Heaven Ji Yen also got a name, known as the Heavenly Suppressing Heroic Peak. Not even half a day after the Son of Heaven Ji Yen was suppressed, a great cultivator arrived nearby. In the days that followed, more and more cultivators came. His subordinates also came to see him, even trying to rescue him, but unfortunately, no matter what methods they used, they couldn't pull him out of the mountain wall or destroy the Heavenly Suppressing Heroic Peak. He became a joke of the world, his pride crushed. He had undergone many reincarnations, all successful before, smoothly sailing in each life, never finding himself in such a predicament even when facing strong enemies. Not only was he humiliated by his enemies, but he also lost hope of victory. Coming to the celestial spirit great world, he felt unprecedented difficulties. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance was too tenacious for him to defeat quickly. Now, he was encountered by Ancestor Master Wuxia, who would suppress him for 500 years. 500 years! The force he had built single-handedly would surely be uprooted by the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. He didn't reveal that he was only suppressed for 500 years, not because he didn't trust ancestor Master Wuxia, but because he feared the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance would be ruthless. Moreover, he wanted to see how his recruited subordinates and the people viewed him. On the mountain wall, the son of heaven Jie Yan hung his head, his white hair scattered like dried grass, motionless as if already dead. At this moment, his heart was filled with anger and unwillingness. He resented everything, resented ancestor Master Wuxia, and resented himself. He could be sure that his suppressor was ancestor Master Wuxia. Only ancestor Master Wuxia had such skill. He hated himself for overly relying on his sword. Despite things feeling off at the time, he still attacked the female alliance leader. The son of heaven Jie Yan's mood grew increasingly gloomy. In the distance, a group of great cultivators from the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance watched him from afar, their brows furrowed, not laughing openly like other cultivators. Although he's been suppressed, we simply cannot kill him. Over time, his hatred towards the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance will only deepen. Indeed, but who exactly suppressed him? Does the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance hide a presence we're unaware of? He was struck from Alliance leader Jis Little World. Perhaps we could ask her. Though he's an enemy, watching him humiliated like this, I can't help but feel uneasy. True, although his actions are domineering, the son of heaven Jie Yan conducts himself with honesty and integrity, never hiding his intent in battles. The great cultivators discussed, though their words showed sympathy for the son of heaven Jie Yan, what they hoped for was his death. Every day thereafter, beings came to observe, looking at the son of heaven Jie Yan's plight. Most were merely astounded, curious, without deeper thoughts. There were various theories about who had suppressed the son of heaven Jie Yan. Most believed there was a hidden master in the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance because the son of heaven was suppressed after causing a commotion there. Some mentioned ancestor Master Wuxia, but there was no direct evidence, and ancestor Master Wuxia never involved himself in internal conflicts of heaven and earth. 500 years in the past seemed brief for the son of heaven Jie Yan, but now it felt endlessly tormenting. 200 years later, the son of heaven Jie Yan remained embedded against the heavenly suppressing heroic peak, covered in dust and leaves, remnants of 200 years of wind and rain. Compared to 200 years ago, the area was no longer as lively, and the son of heaven Jie Yan's mindset had recovered somewhat, becoming numb. No matter what, before regaining freedom, his anger would only harm himself. Near midday, as the scorching sun shone down, sunlight cast on him, faint white mist began to rise from within him. Suddenly, a pebble fell from above, rolled down the mountain wall, hitting the son of heaven Jie Yan's head. The son of heaven Jie Yan remained unresponsive. He didn't move at all. At this moment, a shabby-clothed boy lay at the edge of the cliff above, cautiously peering downwards, but below were layers of clouds and mist, making it impossible to see any trace of living beings. The shabby-clothed boy appeared to be only 15 or 16 years old, dressed in ordinary robes, face dirty, yet his eyes were lively and spirited. "Where is the son of heaven?" the shabby-clothed boy muttered, scanning his gaze around, but unfortunately, he couldn't find the son of heaven, nor even a sparrow. He sat up and started to pant. Climbing the heavenly suppressing heroic peak took him 10 whole days, his provisions and water long gone. Not only that, it took him 3 years to reach the heavenly suppressing heroic peak. Sir the Fire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In those 3 years, he faced hardships, almost washed away by river waters, almost eaten by demons, and even captured by bandits who wanted to offer him as a sacrifice to demon cultivators. As his excitement faded, unease began to set in. If the legend of the Son of Heaven was false, wouldn't he have come for nothing? He wasn't afraid of the journey back. He feared disappointing the people of his village. The more he thought, the more he was afraid, finally hugging his knees and burying his face. After an entire hour, he managed to regain his spirit, standing up, patting his face, then walking to the edge of the cliff to look down at the cloud sea below. "Son of Heaven!" he shouted using all his strength. Though his voice was loud, in this vast world it didn't carry far. Distant cultivators observing the son of heaven Jie Yan heard it, but paid no attention. Carrying on, the shabby-clothed boy repeatedly called the son of heaven's name, his voice growing hoarse. Hundreds of times later, his voice began to rasp, his legs trembled. Finally, he collapsed to the ground, coughing violently. "Mortal child, why do you call me?" A voice entered the shabby-clothed boy's ear, causing him to joyfully raise his head and scramble up. "Son of heaven, where are you?" The shabby-clothed boy endured the pain in his throat and asked. "I am beneath the cliff. Only by jumping can you see me." The son of heaven Jie-yan's voice was indifferent, devoid of emotion. The shabby-clothed boy immediately approached the edge, looking down at the cloud ocean below, unable to see the land, resembling a boundless abyss. "I wish to seek immortal cultivation. If successful, I'll find a way to rescue you. Can you teach me immortal cultivation?" The shabby-clothed boy asked through gritted teeth, but unfortunately, this time he received no response. He continued to inquire, but the son of heaven Jie-yan remained silent. After hesitating for a long time, the shabby-clothed boy finally gritted his teeth and chose to jump off the cliff. Embedded against the mountain wall, the son of heaven Jie-yan hung his head, as the shabby-clothed boy fell past him, stirring his hair, yet he still didn't move. The scene returned to silence, as if the shabby-clothed boy had never come. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 838. The change in the Emperor's heart. The people do not know how many years the Son of Heaven Jie-yan will be suppressed, nor does the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance understand, but they will not let such a good opportunity pass. They begin to launch a massive eradication of the Son of Heaven's forces. The forces painstakingly established by the Son of Heaven were completely shattered within 300 years. In addition to the suppression by the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, internal conflicts also emerged, accelerating its demise. The disaster brought by the Son of Heaven thus dispersed, and the celestial spirit great world returned to peace again. Because they could do nothing about the suppressed Son of Heaven Jie-yan, the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance could only focus on cultivating disciples. Over the centuries, they recruited countless talents in the human world, with more and more prodigies emerging. A blink of an eye. The Son of Heaven Jie-yan has been suppressed for 487 years, getting closer to breaking free. During these years, days felt like years for him, and the closer he got to the 500-year mark, the more anxious he became. He feared that the ancestor Master Wuxia might not keep his promise. After all, he did not understand the ancestor Master Wuxia. Before the ancestor Master Wuxia took action, he could not even be sure that the counterpart was indeed the ancestor Master Wuxia. Why is it 500 years? There was only this thought in the mind of the Son of Heaven Jie-yan. 500 years was insignificant to the grand scheme of things, and for him, it would not make much of a difference. Even if his forces were destroyed, he could start over at most. At least he would not fall into an irremediable situation. Being suppressed for so long, the Son of Heaven Jie-yan felt that there was some calculation behind this 500-year period. At this time, the sound of thunder came from the sky, and the world quickly darkened. Soon, a torrential rain fell, like a waterfall washing over the Son of Heaven Jie-yan. Outside the heavens, in front of the world gate, two figures stood side by side, overlooking the Son of Heaven Jie-yan within the celestial spirit great world. They were the celestial spirit god and Tian Hao. Tian Hao was dressed in a golden-patterned white robe, exuding an imposing aura, with his long hair coiled on top of his head, full of arrogance, and a complex profound golden dharma aspect floating behind him. "Has your original memory been restored?" The celestial spirit god opened his mouth to ask. The two stood together, looking more like brothers than father and son. Tian Hao answered, "It hasn't been fully restored, but I know the Son of Heaven. His name is Jie-yan. Whether in power or cultivation level, he is far beyond my reach." His eyes were complicated. He already knew that the Son of Heaven Jie-yan was suppressed by Gu-en. In the celestial court, the Son of Heaven Jie-yan was glorious and was an existence he looked up to. Although he had once received the favor of the celestial emperor, it was short-lived. He hadn't truly grown before being cast into reincarnation. However, thinking of the recent struggles in the celestial court, he felt that the Son of Heaven Jie-yan might have turned misfortune into fortune, possibly escaping a disaster. Tian Hao glanced at the celestial spirit god and asked, "Did you inform my master of my return in advance?" In this lifetime, he already understood his identity, but with the memories of many lifetimes, he could not bring himself to call the celestial spirit god father. Only the celestial emperor was worthy of such a title. The celestial spirit god did not dare to hope for a father-son relationship, so he didn't mind his attitude. I informed him and he agreed. The celestial spirit god replied. Speaking of this matter, there was a hint of emotion in his heart. He underestimated the ancestor Master Wushi's affection for Tian Hao. Even when facing the threat of the celestial court, the ancestor Master Wusher was willing to protect Tian Hao. To ease the relationship with the celestial court, the ancestor Master Wusher sent his own disciple into the celestial court, and the painstakingly established relationship might be severed because of this. The son of heaven Tai Shang, who ruled over the celestial court, was not someone Yang Jian or the Eternal Life Venerable could control. One could even say, whether the Eternal Life Venerable could persist in the presence of the son of heaven Tai Shang was still an unknown. Hearing the celestial spirit god's answer, Tian Hao breathed a sigh of relief, then both fell into silence. After a long while, the celestial spirit god took the initiative to speak. Go to the human world to find a place to cultivate. All right. Tian Hao then disappeared from the spot. The celestial spirit god looked in the direction of the celestial spirit great world, a smile appearing on his face. Although the crisis pressure brought by the celestial court was immense, the people he cared about were right before him. This was happiness for him. On the other side, Guan was teaching Su Han to practice sword techniques within the Taoist field of the beginningless. The two stood in the peach blossom forest, where the sight of fallen peach blossoms scattered on the ground made for a vivid and beautiful scenery. Curiously, Su Han asked, Ancestor, the 500-year period is approaching. If that son of heaven starts to bring calamity to the human world again, what should be done? When the news of the son of heaven being suppressed reached within the beginningless, he immediately sought out Guan. Guan did not hide anything and told him the truth, which excited him for a long time. Though Su Han was a bit jumpy, he kept his mouth shut tight. The information he gathered from Guan would not be spread out, not even to Zhen Qin, which was why Guan was willing to continue telling him things. Although he has a strong sense of purpose and doesn't concern himself much with all living beings, as the son of heaven, he has his pride. He wouldn't deliberately bring calamity to the populace. Guan replied softly, while swinging the wooden sword in his hand, patting it on Su Han's waist. Su Han quickly adjusted his posture and continued practicing the sword techniques. He was secretly amazed. He was not an ordinary person, yet practicing sword techniques in an ordinary way brought great results. With casual pointers from the ancestor, he gained not only sword techniques but also sword intent and understanding of sword Dao. It was truly incredible. Su Han was even thinking, would even the most mediocre person become a genius by cultivating under the ancestor? Thus, Su Han began to concentrate on practicing his sword techniques. Though he might seem carefree, he was very aware. All the Wushiji disciples envied his treatment. The ancestor, while scolding him, actually cared a lot for him. Even if it was for the ancestor, he must strive to succeed. Listening to Su Han's inner voice, the corner of Guan's mouth lifted slightly, and he softly said, At last, you have a bit of his demeanor. His demeanor? Ancestor, who are you talking about? Su Han turned around to ask, full of curiosity. Guan gave him a look, exasperatedly saying, Just praised you, and you're distracted again. Su Han's eyes twinkled, asking, Are you talking about Uncle and Hao? I heard that he's your most beloved disciple. Guan calmly said, Not an Hao, but a disciple named Su Han. Your master named you Su Han because she had a deceased senior brother. Hearing this, Su Han's eyes widened, and he quickly inquired, Another Su Han? Why didn't my master tell me? Can you tell me about him? Believing the time was right, Guan began to tell Su Han's story. Listening while practicing sword techniques, Su Han's mood became heavy because the life of that Su Han was indeed very bitter. However, upon hearing that Su Han took a wrongful path, he couldn't help but frown. He did not agree with Su Han's choices. Once Guan finished, Su Han fell into silence. Guan asked, after hearing his story, What do you think? Su Han took a deep breath and said, If he hadn't been blinded by hatred and focused on cultivating under you, it wouldn't have come to such a pass. Do you think he did the right thing? Search * the novel _fire. @ website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Of course not. He owed you a debt of gratitude until his death. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 839. The Path of the Celestial Emperor. Guan heard Su-han's words and couldn't help but shake his head with a smile. If this boy knew that the person he was criticizing was himself, what would his reaction be? Thinking of this, Guan actually looked forward to it a little. All right, practice your sword well. I will accompany you a little longer, then I have to go out, Guan said seriously, restraining his smile. Su-han looked at him and curiously asked, Ancestor, you often go out. Where do you go, and can you take me with you just once? Guan pretended to be mysterious, saying, I have thousands of incarnations in the human world, and I have many identities to continue with. I cannot take you with me. It would disrupt the path of trial. Perhaps when you go out for trials in the future, you might encounter me, but you will definitely not recognize me. These words gave Su-han goosebumps. He didn't doubt his ancestor's words and began to recall his past. Had he met his ancestor during his travels in the human world? He subconsciously looked up, just in time to meet Guan's meaningful gaze, and couldn't help but shiver. Guan raised his wooden sword and continued to correct Su-han's sword technique, forcing him to withdraw his gaze. The mundane days continued. Su-han practiced cultivation every day. Although he did not experience any major upheavals, he did not find it boring at all. In the simplicity of life, being able to continuously grow stronger was what he considered the most blissful life. As time went by, the 500-year period of Son of Heaven Jie finally arrived. On this day, the weather was clear, and the celestial vault was cloudless for miles. Son of Heaven Jie, embedded in the mountain wall, suddenly began to loosen, then leaned forward, plummeting with a dozen pieces of broken rock, shattering through the sea of clouds. The fierce wind howled in his ears as Son of Heaven Jie's eyes opened, his muddy eyes gradually brightening. Boom! He crashed at the foot of the mountain, his feet shattering the ground and the mountain wall behind, dust swirling like rings as he half knelt on the ground, one hand supporting on the ground. His body began to tremble, and the dirt on his face started to crack, peeling off into pieces of dust. He slowly stood up, looking at his own hands, a wild joy appearing on his face. It's really over, Son of Heaven Jie said tremulously, his voice hoarse. He had often suspected that Ancestor Master Wuxia was toying with him, which is why he was now unusually elated, more excited than when he became the lord of a realm in his previous life. His resentment towards Ancestor Master Wuxia had completely vanished. Thinking about it now, he wanted to kill Ancestor Master Wuxia, yet Ancestor Master Wuxia only suppressed him for 500 years. The punishment was too light. If it were him, he would never be so merciful. Of course, the most important is that he dared not provoke Ancestor Master Wuxia. If he could convince himself, he could live more at ease in the future. He took a deep breath, trying hard to calm his emotions. Suddenly, his gaze was drawn to a pile of white bones not far away. The skeleton was broken, scattered in the soil, and with just one look, he recognized the identity of those bones. It was the ragged-clothed boy who had called him from the mountaintop back then. As his cultivation level rapidly recovered, Son of Heaven Jie also regained his ability to piece together past events. He looked at those bones and began to deduce the past of the ragged-clothed boy. That village of the ragged-clothed boy was oppressed by the demon cultivators, who occasionally let demons into the village to wreak havoc, causing unbearable suffering. He escaped with the hope of the entire village, but his talent was too poor, and no immortal cultivation sect was willing to accept him. By chance, he heard the legend of the Son of Heaven being suppressed and came all the way to find the heavenly suppressing heroic peak. Such experiences are not uncommon in the mortal world. But for some reason, Son of Heaven Jie felt inexplicably irritable at this moment. Ancestor Master Wuxia promised to suppress him for 500 years, and it was just 500 years, but those who sought him ended up in a tragically broken state. Images floated before his eyes, of the ragged-clothed boy's expression while listening to other low-tier cultivators talking about the legend of the Son of Heaven. That boy's face was full of longing and aspiration. Although the Son of Heaven was suppressed, in his heart, the Son of Heaven was very powerful. It was just Ancestor Master Wuxia honing him. He even believed that the Son of Heaven could end the dark era he was living in. World peace is only the big picture. For people suffering in hardship, the human world is hell. That's why the ragged-clothed boy placed his hopes upon him. Son of Heaven Jie could distinguish whether those who turned to him and demons were sincere. Rarely did anyone truly believe that he could bring a better future to this human world like the ragged-clothed boy did. Have you gained anything over these 500 years? A voice reached Son of Heaven Jayan's ears, startling him to look around. His gaze focused on a giant rock to the south where a white-robed man stood, figure as firm as a peak, face blurry. Ancestor Master Wusher. Son of Heaven Jayan instinctively became cautious, but then he realized that if Ancestor Master Wusher wanted to harm him, he would have no power to resist. He calmed down, thought for a moment and said, "Yes, perhaps I overlooked the hearts of all living beings. In the future, you can still do whatever you want, and I won't stop you. But if you encounter disciples I care about, I will still intervene. Son of Heaven, you've reincarnated through the red dust for countless lifetimes. Is there anyone you truly care about? For whom do you truly fight?" After Gu An's voice fell, his figure disappeared. Son of Heaven Jayan did not leave immediately, his expression changing unpredictably, his gaze involuntarily drawn to the pile of bones. In the course of reincarnation, life after life, he felt as though he had perhaps lost his way. Which path was truly that of a celestial emperor? His father gave him no hints, letting him find it himself in reincarnation. Gradually, he grew stronger to become the ruler of the human world and forgot to reflect whether his path was the right one. Is conquest really the only way to unify the world? Son of Heaven Jayan stood motionless, closing his eyes. Leaves drifted before him, the sun set, and the moon rose, day after day. A few days later, cultivators who came to observe discovered that the Son of Heaven had already escaped, causing panic, and they immediately left to proclaim the news everywhere. More and more cultivators came to confirm the incident, and soon they discovered the figure of Son of Heaven Jiayen. Seeing Son of Heaven Jiayen standing on the ground, the cultivators were very nervous. As time continued to pass, the number of cultivators near the heavenly suppressing heroic peak increased, and the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance also arrived, even starting to array themselves. Months later, snow fell, with a flake landing on the head of Son of Heaven Jiayen. He slowly looked up at the celestial vault, his eyes full of flying snow. Standing around the 8 directions were large flags as tall as the heavenly suppressing heroic peak, all embroidered with various divine beast emblems. Whichever direction he looked, figures of the great cultivators of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance could be seen. From above, the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance had already set up a net of heaven and earth, leaving Son of Heaven Jiayen nowhere to escape. Sir the Novel Fire. Net ** website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Son of Heaven Jiayen gazed at the celestial vault, the snow growing heavier, obscuring his vision. In each snowflake in his eyes were reflected scenes, the lives of different people, those he met in past and present lives, many only brief encounters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 840. No chance of winning. The news of the Son of Heaven's escape spread quickly, like a whirlwind sweeping across the land. As soon as the news reached Wusher, Su Han went to find Guan, ancestor. I've heard that the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance has already surrounded the Son of Heaven. Yet, the sun doesn't leave the heavenly suppressing heroic peak. He stands at the foot of the mountain, covered by snow without moving an inch. What is he trying to do? Su Han looked at Guan, who was sitting on the steps, and asked curiously. Guan was carving a bamboo sword and casually replied, "The mind resides within the chest. Who knows what he's thinking if he doesn't speak?" Su Han wanted to ask more, but Guan glanced at him and said, "You seem quite idle. Would you like me to arrange some tasks for you?" Upon hearing this, Su Han's eyes lit up and he quickly asked, "What tasks?" Being able to do something for Ancestor made him happy, and he was even somewhat impatient. Return to the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance and check on your grandfather. He's recently encountered some troubles. Guan replied, saying this as he blew away the bamboo shavings from the sword and then handed the bamboo sword to Su Han. "Take it to your grandfather." Su Han took the sword and frowned, asking, "Ancestor, what trouble has my grandfather encountered?" "You'll know once you return." Guan did not reveal any information, which made Su Han even more anxious. He immediately performed a ritual before turning away. After Su Han departed, Guan stood up, stretched lazily, and raised his hand to catch a falling bamboo leaf. As he held the bamboo leaf, His thoughts drifted. The matter concerning the Son of Heaven Jie temporarily came to an end. The reason for enlightening the Son of Heaven Jie was because Guan discovered something peculiar while deducing Jie reincarnation path. It was a fortune too obscure to describe. The path to sainthood. The Son of Heaven Jie seemed to be walking the path of the Celestial Emperor, but he wasn't. The road he walked was guided by the Celestial Emperor, which indicated that the Celestial Emperor was also seeking the path to sainthood. What exactly is a saint? Besides breakthroughs in cultivation realm, Guan believes that one also needs breakthroughs in Tao heart. How to make a breakthrough in Tao heart, enlightenment? Or like the Tao fruit, generate one's own power? Guan stood there and began to ponder. Sar the Fire. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The heavens and earth alternated between light and shadow, the seasons changed, and it wasn't until the spring of the next year that he regained his senses. He only grasped a bit of sensation, unable to fully comprehend it for the time being, so he could only set it aside. He still had to harvest the mature medicinal herbs. He wondered if relying on lifespan to constantly enhance cultivation techniques could lead to the discovery of the holy Tao. Anyway, with lifespan still accumulating, Guan wasn't anxious. Once he had sufficient lifespan, he would focus on crazily improving both cultivation techniques and physique. When these two conditions reached their peak, they would inevitably bring him surprises. Guan turned and walked into the bamboo forest, where the sunlight was bright and the celestial vault was magnificent, just like this world, always in tranquility. Time flew by like a shuttle, and years passed like arrows. 1,000 years passed. The human world remained peaceful after the Son of Heaven Jie left the seal of the heavenly suppressing heroic peak. Initially, the people of the world worried that he would again cause upheaval, but as time went on, they gradually forgot about the Son of Heaven Jie. Without the threat of the Son of Heaven, the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance reconsolidated its ruling position, vigorously developing beyond the heavens, exploring other great thousand worlds, and the celestial spirit great world seemed to enter a period of rapid development again. In that year, heavenly suppressing heroic peak saw heavy snow again, blanketing the world in a vast whiteness. At the foot of the mountain, the tattered clothes of the Son of Heaven Jie leaned against the mountain wall. Beside him lay a reconstructed skeleton, also in a sitting posture. Looking in the direction towards which the Son of Heaven Jie faced, a silhouette could be seen walking towards him amidst the vast snow, faintly gleaming with golden light. As the figure approached, he revealed his true form. It was Tian Hao. He still exuded that impressive demeanor, with Dharma aspect apparent behind him, resembling a divine monarch descended from heaven. Tian Hao looked at the current state of the Son of Heaven Jie with a gaze filled with peculiar colors, stopping 10 feet away to look at him. The aura of the Son of Heaven. I wonder which imperial brother has arrived. The Son of Heaven Jie said without opening his eyes, his tone calm. Tian Hao replied, if it's a matter of the identity of the Son of Heaven, I am called Xian Qing. Upon hearing this, the Son of Heaven Jie opened his eyes, his gaze cold, examining Tian Hao, and mockingly said, Emperor Xian Qing? Can't recall how long ago it was when I heard the news that Father, while training in the human world, also birthed another prince, a rare innate immortal god favored by the celestial Tao destiny. Father took him to the celestial court, showering him with great love. Alas, this son did not cherish it and actually criticized Father's political governance, leading to being cast into reincarnation, never to reincarnate. Upon seeing you today, indeed, Father loves doing things that contradict his words. He's even left you a path. Tian Hao's expression remained calm as he spoke. Father has also left you a path. In fact, he's left a path for every son of heaven. Some can see it clearly and strive diligently, while others cannot and perish in resentment. The Son of Heaven Jie closed his eyes again. Tian Hao cast a glance at the skeleton beside the Son of Heaven Jie, immediately seeing through the past of that skeleton, making his expression softer. Tai Shang wants to eradicate us. Tian Hao spoke again. The Son of Heaven Jie's brows furrowed momentarily, then relaxed. The dark heavenly court invaded the heavenly Tao. Tai Shang successfully led the defense and defeated the strongest presence of the dark heavenly court, gaining Father's approval. He's now in control of the celestial court's power, possibly eradicating sons of heaven who haven't pledged loyalty to him, making him the closest to the position of the celestial emperor. Tianhao continued speaking, his expression unchanged. The son of heaven Jie Yen snorted coldly. Even those sons of heaven who pledge loyalty to him will be eradicated. Father once told me that Tai Shang is the most like him, the most suitable son of heaven to become the celestial emperor. Father has no siblings living. Tianhao said, since we've both come to the celestial spirit great world, we're linked by fate. Let's join forces. Your reincarnation trial should be concluded. During your years in reincarnation, significant changes have occurred in the celestial court. The son of heaven Jie Yen remained silent, no longer responding. Tianhao didn't continue speaking but instead stood there waiting. The snow kept falling continuously as if wanting to bury the entire heaven and earth. After a long time, the son of heaven Jie Yen opened his eyes, his body leaned slightly forward, and he looked at Tianhao and said, there is no chance of victory. His power is already unbeatable. Now in possession of the celestial court's power, he will surely absorb the celestial Tao destiny. Facing him leads to no good outcome. Even with a powerful presence like Ancestor Master Wuxia assisting us, there would be no chance of victory. Perhaps Ancestor Master Wuxia foresaw the current situation long ago, which is why he distanced himself from the celestial court. Tianhao stared at the son of heaven Jie Yen and asked, no chance of victory, so sit and wait for death? Calmly seek enlightenment, and fleeing into chaos someday might be a path to life. I never expected the once unyielding son of heaven Jie Yen to fear Tai Shang like this. Tianhao mocked him, his tone filled with disdain. The son of heaven Jie Yen stared at him, eerily saying, kid, even if you find father, you might not be able to turn the tide. Do you know why father delegated power to him? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 841. Sweeping across the heavens. What do you mean? Are you saying he already has the power to rival father? Tianhao frowned and asked, his tone suddenly turning colder. After regaining his memories, his feelings for the celestial emperor returned to their original state, filled with resentment and dissatisfaction, but undeniably, the celestial emperor was the most powerful existence in his heart. Even his master Guan could not compare. Guan secluded himself here, surely with some unspeakable secret. While the celestial emperor is high above, overlooking all beings, none can shake his dominion. Son of heaven Jie Yen remained unfazed and replied, you don't understand father enough. Before Tai Shang, no son of heaven had wielded the power of the celestial court. If father gets angry, even the celestial Tao venerable would be stripped of the immortal position, falling into the red dust would be minor, and in worse cases, both body and soul would perish. How could Tianhao not know the celestial emperor's dominance? After all, he too has fallen into the mortal realm. If not for encountering Master Guan, he felt he would still have to undergo countless reincarnations, not knowing where the end lies. There are not few sons of heaven like him. Within all heavens and myriad realms, many sons of heaven rise and fall, not to mention the errant immortal gods. The thought of the number of heavenly court immortals brings an immense pressure upon Tianhao. They not only have to face the son of heaven Tai Shang, but also the entirety of the celestial court's power. If Tai Shang truly has power not inferior to the celestial emperor, then they indeed have no chance of victory. The two fell into silence once more. Son of heaven Jie Yen closed his eyes again, continuing his enlightenment. Tianhao turned around, preparing to leave, but just as he was halfway turned, he suddenly asked, are you staying here because of that mortal child? I am only contemplating the true path I should take. Since you and I are brothers, let me advise you, if you cannot resist Tai Shang, why not distance yourself from the celestial court, spend the remaining time on enlightenment, perhaps when you find your own road, you will see a path to life. Son of heaven Jie Yen replied with his eyes closed, his tone more gentle than before. Tianhao gave him a meaningful look, then turned and left, heading back the way he came, soon disappearing into the vast white snow. The snow continued falling, landing on son of heaven Jie Yen. Day by day, son of heaven Jie Yen was buried by the snow, merging with the world as one. The internal strife of the celestial court did not affect the 3,000 great worlds, where their own stories were unfolding. This year, a peerless genius emerged on the path of the great Tao, cultivating both as a Taoist emperor and a primordial Tao emperor. When the unbeaten emperor ancestor from the primordial emperor domain visited Guan, he mentioned this genius, saying that in his lifetime he had never seen such a formidable genius. Even in the primordial emperor domain, it was absolutely unprecedented in history. The two of them were having tea in an inn on the Nine-Spirit continent, and the unbeaten emperor ancestor was endlessly talking about that genius, while Guan listened with interest, like hearing a story. The nearby tables of guests were also drawn to the unbeaten emperor ancestor's words. The terms coming out of this old man's mouth sounded quite formidable. As for Guan, they were not too curious. Even if the Nine-Spirit continent was shrouded by a dojo, few had seen Guan's true appearance. Emperor Xian has already declared that he wants to challenge all the strong of the 3,000 great worlds, and then wage war on the primordial emperor domain, Misty Immortal Court, Ling Mountain, and other extraordinary domains. Truly arrogant, yet there are many forces that support him, and several emperor clans in the primordial emperor domain want to recruit him and absorb his bloodline. The unbeaten emperor ancestor clicked his tongue in amazement and looked at Guan, asking, "In the celestial spirit great world, is there anyone who can oppose him?" He wanted to ask about Wushiji disciple, but didn't want to be too direct. In his view, the celestial spirit great world was not strong. It was Wusher who was strong. In terms of talent, indeed there are those who can outshine him, but if he arrives, no one will be able to stop him. Guan replied with a smile. He wasn't speaking frivolously, as this was something destined to happen. Emperor Xian was meant to become a legendary myth. The reason for his widespread conquests was because he had heard tales of his own legend. Unlike those tragic hero stories, Emperor Xian's life was smooth and successful. He would sweep through the heavens, sealing himself a god with supreme glory, becoming part of the immortal class, and in the era of Ji, legend has it that Emperor Xian ushered a brilliant golden age. Looking at it now, Guan saw even more. The reason for Emperor Xian's success was because he had an extraordinary existence supporting him. The son of Heaven Tai Shang, now the ruler of the celestial court. Indeed, Emperor Xian has grown up now. The unbeaten emperor ancestor remarked with admiration, and at the same time, he secretly respected Guan's magnanimity. It was clear from Guan's words that he was not planning to suppress Emperor Xian. The two continued their conversation, turning to the topic of the primordial emperor domain. Recently, the undefeated emperor clan was also facing troubles, and in the primordial emperor domain, there were many emperor clans. Since previously suffering a setback on the path of the Great Tao, the status of the undefeated emperor clan had been declining. His visit this time wasn't just to see the emperor clan staying in the celestial spirit great world, but more importantly to seek help. In the past tens of millions of years, he considered his performance fairly satisfactory, so he mustered the courage to come. After he finished speaking, Guan said, "I cannot help you directly, as that would violate the heavenly Tao. The current repercussions for the undefeated emperor clan result from your improper conduct, so this is a hardship you must endure. However, I can give you hope. Wait for several million more years, and I will grant the undefeated emperor clan a spot to ascend to immortality. But this spot has a threshold, and the person must satisfy me." Hearing the first half of Guan's words, the unbeaten emperor ancestor felt despondent, but upon hearing the latter part, he became overjoyed. Ascend to immortality. Even in the primordial emperor domain, the pursuit of an immortal position is sought after. But the threshold of the celestial court is extremely high. At most, they can nominate a clansman to participate in the celestial army selection. Treading the heavenly ascension stairs is exceedingly difficult, nearly impossible. Suppressing his joy, the unbeaten emperor ancestor asked, "May I ask of which tier is the immortal position?" Guan replied, "At least a star monarch. As for the specific immortal position, it depends on one's own fortune." Star monarch. The unbeaten emperor ancestor's eyes widened, his breath becoming rapid. Once, a star monarch descended to the primordial emperor domain, and even ancient existences with higher cultivation levels than this star monarch were forced to kneel. That scene remains unforgettable to him. Heavenly court immortals are immortal, and this is their confidence when facing stronger forces. For immortal gods, cultivation level doesn't seem as important, such as the power of the celestial court. If the undefeated emperor clan were to bear a star monarch, it would truly soar to unprecedented heights, surpassing even its peak period. Their conversation aroused more curiosity among the surrounding people, who frequently glanced at Guan, discovering they couldn't see his true form, which surprised them secretly. With such a grand tone, could this person be one of Wushi's first 5 generations of disciples? Guan stood up and smiled. We've had our drink, accompany me for a walk. Together, see what the 9-spirit continent looks like now, and offer your insights. The unbeaten emperor ancestor hurriedly rose and followed Guan out of the inn. His emotions were uncontrollable, the smile on his face impossible to suppress. S.E.A. the novel Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 842. Guan and the unbeaten emperor ancestor rode the clouds forward, admiring the scenery along the way. The unbeaten emperor ancestor praised everything about the 9-spirit continent. What if the person you choose is completely inclined towards the celestial court? Guan suddenly asked. The unbeaten emperor ancestor replied without hesitation. Impossible, I would never choose such descendants. Walking from the inn to this place, he had already constructed a series of plans in his mind. After reclaiming his position as the heavenly court starlord, his next target was the celestial court. He feared the power of the heavenly court immortals, craved the heavenly court immortals' authority, but would never forget his hatred. His wife and child died at the hands of the heavenly court immortals, and until now, he hasn't been able to avenge them. In the long years that passed, he almost gave up. Facing the unshakable celestial court, he had not a single chance for revenge, especially as the undefeated emperor clan passed down through generations. He dared not make a move against the heavenly court immortals. Back then, he submitted to Guan not just because he resented the celestial court but because living on was the only way to protect his family. Now, Guan offered him a chance as star monarch. He not only saw hope for the clan's prosperity but also the possibility of vengeance. Countless years have passed, and that celestial god must have climbed to an even higher immortal position. He wished to investigate from outside. It was almost impossible. If an associate could infiltrate the celestial court, it would be much easier. The undefeated emperor clan cannot seek vengeance against the immortals, but there must be strife among the immortals themselves. The seed of hatred sprouted once more in the unbeaten emperor ancestor's heart, and this time, it was not just anger, but unprecedented excitement. A hatred suppressed for countless years. Besides, he saw more. That was the relationship between Guan and the celestial court. Tens of millions of years ago, Guan clearly had an unknown conflict with the celestial court, but now, Guan could intervene in the immortal position, leading to many associations regarding Guan's true identity. Guan could perceive the psychological activities of the unbeaten emperor ancestor but did not point them out, only sighing inwardly. Even though the unbeaten emperor ancestor possessed the immortal emperor's eye, he could not see through the terrifying nature of the heavenly Tao. The human heart is fragile in the face of the heavenly Tao. After that, Guan spoke no more, shifting the topic to the cities along the way. Guan had his own considerations in wanting the undefeated emperor clan members to ascend to immortality, because he saw that the clan would give birth to a second pair of immortal emperor's eyes. Why the immortal emperor's eyes were dreaded by the celestial court, Guan still couldn't discern, because the cause and effect of the immortal emperor's eyes had been severed, leaving no trace within the celestial court. 8 million years later, the human world acquired a new visage, the son of heaven and earth, Guan Tianyu, of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, fully matured. Although a profound Yuan-free immortal, he could challenge a Luotian-free immortal without defeat, shaking the universe. The name Guan Tianyu spread throughout the land, even Qi cultivation realm cultivators discussing his might. In the eyes of the world, Guan Tianyu was already number one. However, the good times did not last long, as the celestial spirit great world received an unexpected guest. It was none other than Emperor Xian, who combined the Taoist Emperor and Primordial Tao Emperor titles, arriving through the World Gate, with the celestial spirit god not obstructing him. If he infiltrated the celestial spirit great world, he would be captured and exterminated by the celestial spirit god. Emperor Xian called out to the entire celestial spirit great world, attracting all the great cultivators to battle in outer heaven. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, as the heavenly sovereign, naturally led but, unfortunately, news of consecutive defeats reached within the universe, causing all living beings great unease. If such a formidable existence was to invade the celestial spirit great world, it would spell an apocalypse? In the summer of this year. Search * the Nell Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. At the foot of the heavenly suppressing heroic peak, the son of heaven Jie was meditating and cultivating, a skeleton still by his side. Just it became more natural than before, showing no signs of having been shattered, and was identical in posture to him. Now the human world no longer paid attention to him, including the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, which, ever since Guan Tianyu matured, completely ceased to surveil him. Boom! A deafening roar came from the sky. The son of heaven Jie looked up to see a golden rainbow light appeared in the celestial vault, akin to a dandelion in bloom, followed by a meteor wrapped in fiery flames streaking across the celestial vault, falling beyond the horizon. Master, what's happening in outer heaven? Why doesn't it settle down? A voice came from beside him, the talking skeleton, its voice identical to the cloth-clad youth back then. The son of heaven Jie replied, "It's just people in combat. Don't worry, the heavens won't collapse." Is it that self-proclaimed Emperor Xian fighting? Yes. It's been so long, he hasn't been defeated yet? Master, will it be your turn to fight one day? You are the son of heaven, you must be the strongest in the world. If I was the strongest, I wouldn't be suppressed here. That Emperor Xian is indeed powerful. I can't defeat him, at most remain undefeated. The son of heaven Jieyan's response made the skeleton lift its head, seemingly surprised by this answer. Afterwards, the son of heaven Jieyan closed his eyes again and said, "All right, work hard in cultivation, and transform early. It'll take you to see the human world and help address your regrets." The skeleton murmured, "I've died countless years ago, further regrets hold no meaning." The son of heaven Jieyan did not respond, continuing with his cultivation. The battle outside continued. The celestial spirit great world did not besiege Emperor Xian, since Emperor Xian sparred without taking his opponent's lives, preventing the heavenly spirit Tao Alliance from acting recklessly. Yet as one renowned great cultivator after another was defeated, the heavenly spirit Tao Alliance grew anxious. Would they truly let an outsider sweep the celestial spirit great world? They had to call upon Guan Tianyu to take action. Guan Tianyu was indeed strong, giving Emperor Xian significant trouble. He was the longest-lasting opponent in this realm. Unfortunately, he ultimately succumbed. The Luotian free immortals of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance could no longer hold back and went into battle. The news of Guan Tianyu's defeat spread to the human world, causing an uproar. The campaigns of Emperor Xian were unending. Within years, he claimed 1,000 victories, showcasing an unmatched victory stance. In the dim cosmos, Emperor Xian stood proudly in the void, donning a silver battle armor, with 2 long sashes swirling about his waist and back. Behind the menacing helmet were 2 golden crescent moons hovering. His face was handsome, his gaze cold and indifferent, an inseparable air of arrogance exuding. With furrowed eyebrows, he scanned the surroundings, seeing all cultivators and great demons baring their teeth at him, their eyes filled with dread. Is there no stronger presence in the celestial spirit great world? Emperor Xian shouted loudly, his voice like thunder, echoing endlessly, resounding in the ears of all celestial spirit beings. Ji Xiaoyu stood amidst the sea of heavenly spirit Tao Alliance people, quietly watching Emperor Xian. As an innate golden immortal, she did not intend to fight. She could see that although Emperor Xian was arrogant, he was not a great evil person. She did not wish to reveal her true power for the sake of such an individual. Why not? If you really think you're strong, go challenge Wuxia. The true powerful entities of the celestial spirit great world are hidden within the beginningless. A middle-aged cultivator couldn't help himself, shouting angrily. Upon hearing this, the alliance hierarchs of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance all frowned, but many more living beings echoed his sentiment, using Wuxia to provoke Emperor Xian. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 843. Arrogant and Unrivaled, Beginningless. Emperor Xian raised an eyebrow, silently muttering this name. Instinctively, he calculated with his fingers, but unfortunately, he couldn't deduce any cause and effect related to wuxia, which piqued his interest. He turned his gaze toward the celestial spirit great world, his divine sense sweeping through. Only one place remained obscure, it must be the hiding spot of wuxia. If that's the case, then I shall challenge wuxia. Emperor Xian stepped towards the celestial spirit great world, and his words caused the faces of the gathered great powers to change drastically, yet no one hindered him. Firstly, they couldn't stop him, secondly, they hoped wuxia could suppress Emperor Xian's arrogance. Ji Xiaoyu hesitated for a moment in the crowd, but ultimately did not step forward. Emperor Xian's venture would at most disturb Brother Gu, who, after all, seemed quite idle. Thinking of this, Ji Xiaoyu's lips curled up, showing some anticipation. At the same time, people started to follow Emperor Xian's footsteps to watch the battle. Someone took the lead, followed by more people, and soon, the cultivators from outer heaven formed a long line, trailing Emperor Xian. They had absolute confidence in Ancestor Master wuxia, as he had never been defeated. The only suspense lay in how Emperor Xian would be defeated. On the other side, Guan was not within the Taoist field of the beginningless. He was in the middle of guiding Xiao Lan's cultivation. Currently, Xiao Lan also reached the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, and in terms of cultivation level, she ranked among the top 5 in the celestial spirit great world. Of course, this did not include the immortal gods. Guan was not directly helping her become an innate golden immortal. Instead, he wanted her to mature a bit more and accumulate insights. It wasn't because he favored Ji Xiaoyu more, but Ji Xiaoyu's reincarnation experiences far exceeded those of Xiao Lan. The two stood in a forest, Xiao Lan raising her right hand, with a green lotus suspended above her palm, continuously emitting silvery threads, and the light it produced illuminated her face, highlighting her expressions of anticipation, anxiety, and joy. Guan stood beside her, watching with admiration, and praised, "Condensing Tao into lotus, your thought Tao has achieved something." The thought Tao is the Tao of thoughts and ideas, distinct from the soul Tao but intricately connected to it. There must be a soul to have a mind, and with a mind comes endless thoughts. Cultivators comprehend the Tao, with the 3,000 great Tao, but few choose to cultivate the thought Tao. Guan, although primarily focusing on the path of cause and effect and the path of power, has dabbled in the 3,000 great Tao, and even if he is not familiar, his perspective and insights into the thought Tao are enough to benefit Xiao Lan greatly. Without Brother Gu, how could I have such fortune? Xiao Lan looked up at Guan, speaking with a bright smile. In the Xiao family, she was the supreme and revered ancestor, but in front of Guan, she was always the younger sister. Memories of past and present lives merged without erasing her original colors, even fostering a new self. Xiao Lan withdrew her hand and dispersed the green lotus within it. She turned to Guan and curiously asked, "You should have heard the conversation from outer heaven. That Emperor Xian is about to challenge wuxia. Aren't you returning?" Guan shook his head, chuckling. "A trivial Emperor Xian still requires my intervention? Oh. Is there a disciple within the beginningless more formidable than Emperor Xian?" Xiao Lan grew more curious. Guan smiled silently, then followed up, "Since you don't want to practice anymore, take me for a walk. Your Xiao family has truly grown larger. Its reputation has even spread to the 9-spirit continent." Xiao Lan hugged Guan's arm and responded, "Large it is, but problems have also increased, with emotions and reasons entangled. Sometimes it's truly hard to resolve. I gradually understand why you left the Supreme Sect." The two departed the forest while continuing their conversation. The Xiao family is still just beginning. Compared to the ancient clans standing in the 3,000 great worlds, the Xiao family is merely starting out. I left the Supreme Sect simply to change my environment, change my mood, and maybe one day I'll leave the celestial spirit great world. Guan comforted, although the Xiao family had various troubles, overall they had not gone astray. Currently, the Xiao family had thousands of disciples, so it was inevitable that some evil individuals existed. Fortunately, the Xiao family's laws were strict and didn't shelter evildoers, so Guan's impression of them remained decent. If you leave the celestial spirit great world, then I'll follow you. I have already served the Xiao family well. Xiao Lan spoke with a radiant smile, her tone filled with anticipation. She had traveled the path of the great Tao and knew that there was a vaster world beyond the heavens. Following Guan through the heavens would indeed be an unparalleled experience. Shooting stars streaked across the sky, a phenomenon of the great powers descending upon the mortal realm. Emperor Xian flew towards the nine-spirit continent, his divine sense enveloping the heavens and gaining a deeper understanding of the celestial spirit great world. Immortal gods, son of heaven, ancestor master Wuxia. This great thousand world is indeed fascinating. Emperor Xian's eyes burned with fighting spirit, eager for the upcoming battle. As he flew, he approached the vicinity of the nine-spirit continent. Below, a boundless ocean spread, with spirit mist surging at the horizon like a wall at the world's edge, mysterious and grand. Countless great power cultivators descended from the heavens, hovering in the distance, watching Emperor Xian's back, whispering amongst themselves. Two figures flew over from the other side of the heavens, one of them handsome and valiant, though dressed in simple Taoist robes. His spirit was akin to a treasure sword emerging from its sheath, attracting attention. This person was the top prodigy of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, Guan Tianyu. After being defeated by Emperor Xian, Guan Tianyu returned to heal. Upon hearing Emperor Xian challenging Wuxia, he couldn't resist coming to watch. Alongside him was his master, Ancestor Master Qingguang, one of the hierarchs of the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance. Master, will Ancestor Master Wuxia show up? Guan Tianyu halted, gazing distantly at Emperor Xian's figure, voicing his inquiry. Though he had always stayed within the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, he held a curiosity regarding Wuxia. Having met disciples of Wuxiji, their brilliance inspired him. Even though he had grown powerful, he didn't feel confident enough to challenge Wuxia, as the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance continuously advised to be spirited but not arrogant, especially maintaining respect for Wuxia. As one senior hierarch noted, all living beings in the celestial spirit great world owe a debt to Wuxia. Ancestor Master Qingguang mused, it's unlikely that he will appear, but with Emperor Xian already at the doorstep of Wuxi's Tao sect, an entertaining show awaits us. Guan Tianyu was about to further inquire when suddenly, Emperor Xian's voice rang out, resounding stone-shattering. I am Emperor Xian, here to challenge Wuxia, regardless if it's Ancestor Master Wuxia or Wuxiji disciple. Come forth and face me. Let me see if the celestial spirit great world houses any true formidable ones. Emperor Xian's voice was filled with arrogance, and his disdainful tone towards all living beings roused anger among the spectators, who all glared furiously at him. No one insulted Emperor Xian verbally, as he had consistently proven himself through victories, establishing himself undeniably as a strong figure. S.E.A. the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. For now, the cultivators anticipated Wuxi's response, yearning to see Emperor Xian defeated. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 844. Myriad dragons ascending to heaven. Emperor Xian's voice echoed throughout the nine-spirit continent, capturing the attention of all living beings within it. Years ago, the news of Emperor Xian challenging the celestial spirit great world had spread within the beginningless. Many were curious if Emperor Xian would eventually battle at the gates of the Wuxia sect, and to their surprise, he indeed came. This indicated that even the great cultivators of the celestial spirit great world couldn't stop him. Within the continent, those cultivators in seclusion came out one after another, and more living beings gathered in the direction from where the voice came. Emperor Xian stood proudly in the sky, his long scarf fluttering like a dragon. Behind his head, two golden crescent moons shimmered with dazzling golden light. With each flash, the two golden moons grew larger, and his aura intensified accordingly. The ocean began to surge, waves overlapping, thunderclouds gathered above, and faint thunder roared. The spirit mist surrounding the nine-spirit continent also started to surge violently, as if ready to sweep towards the celestial vault, shaking the skies. Guan Tianyu watched Emperor Xian's back with furrowed brows, sensing an incredibly terrifying aura, realizing Emperor Xian hadn't been serious with him. Could it be that this #1 prodigy under heaven is truly no match for the prodigies on the path of the great Tao? Guan Tianyu felt angry inside, not losing his fighting spirit, but thinking about how to win next time. As Emperor Xian's aura continued to rise, the rules of heaven and earth were affected. Fierce winds arose, seas churned, and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance didn't just watch idly. They dispersed and formed a large array to prevent Emperor Xian's aura from affecting various regions of the human world. Emperor Xian's gaze was fixed on the nine-spirit continent, unable to penetrate the patch of spirit mist, making him anticipate the upcoming battle even more. He wasn't afraid of his opponent being too strong, only of the opponent not being strong enough. Currently, no one in the celestial spirit great world could satisfy him. As his gaze follows, a section of spirit mist on the edge of the nine-spirit continent began to contract inward, as if a door was slowly opening. More and more gazes and divine senses focused on that patch of spirit mist. As the spirit mist parted, a cliff was revealed. On the cliff stood countless cultivators, men and women, numbering in the thousands. The one at the front was Nzizai. Zhuangxian, Su Han, Duanli, Zhen Qin, and others stood behind Nzizai, with other disciples lined up behind them, all eyes locked on Emperor Xian. None of the Wushiji disciples' faces showed fear, instead displaying expressions of mockery, curiosity, and indifference. The great cultivators in the realm were seeing so many Wushiji disciples in one place for the first time. Each disciple possessed extraordinary grace, and their cultivation level was startling. Although many Wushiji disciples were below the level of free immortal, there were also numerous Taoist Zongzizai immortals, profound Yuan free immortals, and even several heaven-encompassing free immortals. Sir the Novel Ire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The foundation of the beginningless was revealed all at once. Those long-lived beings noticed that no second-generation disciples appeared, sparking curiosity about the strength of the Wuxia sect. Thinking carefully, it had been many years since the second-generation disciples showed themselves. It's hard to imagine how strong they are now. Is that Emperor Xian? His aura is so strong. Senior brother, which master or uncle is willing to step in? Su Han stood alongside Nzizai, asking excitedly. He had never seen such a grand spectacle, with cultivators and great demons watching from all directions, giving a sense that the world was paying attention. Guan wasn't present, so Su Han thought a second-generation disciple should step in. He had seen some of them, each with unfathomable cultivation. He even felt that his own master might be the weakest. To deal with this person, why bother our elders? Nzizai stated calmly. After speaking, he took a step forward, stopping at the edge of the cliff, standing against the wind. Emperor Xian's gaze involuntarily fell on Nzizai. He marveled at the complexity of the Wuxia sect, while Nzizai gave him a very powerful impression. I am the third-generation head disciple of the beginningless, Nzizai. Since fellow Taoist wants to fight, I will oblige. Nzizai's voice resounded beneath the thunderclouds, clearly heard by all. Many great cultivators had interacted with Nzizai, though they weren't sure how strong he truly was. Today, hearing Nzizai's willingness to fight, they perked up and began to anticipate. No one dared doubt the foundation of the beginningless. As the third-generation head disciple, Nzizai often traveled among the sects under the heavens, being the most familiar Wuxia disciple to the various sects under the heavens. But until now, Nzizai hadn't fought anyone. At least, they hadn't seen or heard of it. I hope the beginningless will not disappoint me. Emperor Xian's voice was overwhelmingly proud, filled with immense confidence. As his words fell, he stepped toward the nine-spirit continent. The world suddenly darkened, thunderclouds erupted with countless lightning bolts, all intertwining with the two crescent moons behind him. At a glance, it seemed as if he had grown a pair of gigantic lightning wings, spectacular and unparalleled. As he approached the nine-spirit continent, his aura grew even stronger, each step stronger than the last. The world darkened, terrifying waves surged like the end of the world. The fierce wind came roaring at Nzizai, yet he stood immovable, like Mount Tai. Su Han watched Nzizai's back, eyes wide. It was the first time he felt Nzizai's strength. Not only him, but the younger generation like Zhuangxian and Duanli were equally inspired, anticipating Nzizai's might. Not only were the various sects under heaven curious about Nzizai's strength, the Wuxia sect itself was equally curious. As Emperor Xian got closer to the nine-spirit continent, more and more living beings came to watch. Amidst the dark celestial sea, Emperor Xian became the most dazzling presence. Yet the Wuxia disciples standing on the cliff of the continent also exhibited a fierce courage that made it hard for any living being to judge who would win. If it were the ancestor master Wuxia himself, Emperor Xian would be undoubtedly defeated. But now, with Nzazai stepping up, none among the viewers dared to make light judgments. Emperor Xian's gaze remained fixed on Nzazai, and Nzazai likewise focused on him. As their gaze confrontation extended, Emperor Xian's battle intent continued to grow, with his aura strengthening accordingly. The destinies of the primordial Tao Emperor and the Taoist Emperor infused into the two golden crescent moons, energizing his entire being with two completely different types of aura flames. Suddenly, Emperor Xian stepped again, his figure vanished into thin air, with the sky full of lightning paused above the vast sea. And Nzazai's eyes sharpened, striking upward with his right palm, his hand twisting at the wrist, striking forward with a sky-pushing gesture. Boom! Emperor Xian materialized in the air above Nzazai, less than 100 yards apart, two immensely powerful forces of mana clashing, scattering the surging spirit mist and revealing the towering mountains of the nine-spirit continent. In an instant, Emperor Xian's brows furrowed suddenly. Before he could react, intense light burst from the roiling ocean, illuminating the world as silver dragons leaped from the sea, crashing into Emperor Xian. Despite using mana to block, he was pushed up towards the celestial vault. Endless silver dragons continued to leap from the sea, charging forward recklessly, relentlessly tearing at Emperor Xian's mana, counting sidestimble the multitudinous dragons. Emperor Xian gritted his teeth, intent on unleashing divine skills, only to find an unmovable suppressive force enveloping him, unable to teleport, leaving him to withstand with mana alone. In a blink, he was hurled through the celestial Tao light layer into the outer void, his mana fully depleted, unable to recover fast enough to sustain his expenditure. A giant dragon far larger than the rest emerged from the celestial Tao light layer, its dragon head alone equivalent to half the size of the celestial spirit great world, its mouth opening wide to swallow him whole. Deafening silvery dragon roars echoed in his ears, assailing his mind. How is this possible? Emperor Xian's eyes widened, his heart roaring in fury, and he was immediately engulfed in vast silver light. Su Han, witnessing Nzazai's back, asked wide-eyed, "What divine skill is this?" Standing in front of him, Nzazai didn't turn back but spoke calmly. "Myriad Supreme Palm, Second Palm, Myriad Dragons Ascending to Heaven. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 845. The Change of the Future Myriad Supreme Palm. The Second Palm. Myriad Dragons Ascending to Heaven. Su Han felt a surge of emotions upon hearing this. He had heard of the Myriad Supreme Palm, which was said to have been passed down from their ancestor to the eldest disciple. Nobody else within the beginningless knew it, and it was said that the ancestor once said that mastering the Myriad Supreme Palm allows one to be invincible across all heavens. There were many such claims. The beginningless had too many secret skills, so Su Han had never believed it before. But seeing it today, he believed and was even moved. He wanted to learn this skill. It wasn't just him. Other disciples of beginningless were also excitedly looking at the celestial vault. The silver light covering the sky robbed the world of color, while silver dragons continuously surged from the ocean before them, soaring upwards towards outer heaven. Myriad dragons ascending to heaven. The so-called dragons were dragon chi of the great Tao, constantly emerging and crashing into Emperor Xian, devouring his mana. The celestial Tao light layer of the celestial spirit great world was pierced through, with a silver light arc appearing from heaven to the depths of the universe, incredibly magnificent. That was the trace of the myriad dragons' sweep. Once the arc ceased to extend, Emperor Xian's aura weakened significantly. He flew out from the vast silver light, covered in blood, hair disheveled, in extreme disarray. The two golden crescents attached to his chest dimmed considerably. This scene was caught by countless great cultivators. After a brief silence, a commotion erupted among the great cultivators above the ocean. Such an overbearing divine skill. To solve Emperor Xian in just one move. What kind of cultivation level does this Nzazai possess? Could it be the mythical innate golden immortal realm? CTH novel. F. Iyer. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. No, I can feel his aura is still within the heaven-encompassing free immortal realm, but he is the primordial Tao Emperor. Carrying the destiny of both the primordial Tao Emperor and Taoist Emperor, yet unable to surpass the primordial Tao Emperor? Beginningless truly hides dragons and crouches tigers. Hearing the discussions all around, Ji Xiaoyu also had a look of surprise on her face. She knew the second-generation disciples of the Beginningless were strong, and perhaps even hid innate golden immortals, but she didn't expect even the third-generation disciples to be this powerful. Indeed, that fellow, though lazy, became incredibly strong through daily cultivation together. Guan Tianyu was equally shocked. He had battled Emperor Xian, whose profoundness once filled him with despair. He never expected such a powerful Emperor Xian to be so easily defeated by Nzizai. He had seen Nzizai before when he visited the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, and many alliance hierarchs had personally welcomed him. But at the time, he only marveled at the supreme status of Beginningless, not thinking Nzizai was particularly powerful. Now, as he gazed from afar, Nzizai stood on the cliff edge of the Nine-Spirit Continent, facing the wild wind, a stance that gave him immense shock. Is this the Beginningless? Guan Tianyu suddenly felt that Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance was just so-so, and perhaps even the so-called Celestial Court couldn't compare to the Beginningless. Truly terrifying, among the third-generation disciples of Beginningless, many have extraordinary talents, and the future disciples also have exceptional gifts, but none can shake his position, his master, the ancestor of green light, said with genuine admiration. Everyone marveled at Nzizai's strength, while some rushed to outer heaven to check on Emperor Xian. In the depths of the universe, before the world gate, the celestial spirit god, Tian Hao, and Tai immortal monarch stood side by side, witnessing Nzizai's strike. Myriad supreme palm, what powerful creation, those dragons are all the power of the great Tao, Tai immortal monarch praised. He had interacted with Nzizai many times and had long realized this child was no ordinary, so today's display didn't surprise him too much. Tian Hao's eyes were also full of admiration. This disciple of Beginningless, surnamed En, was his sister Nzin's eldest disciple, and he naturally regarded him as his own. Upon returning, he wondered if he should teach Nzizai, but upon reconsideration, knowing Nzizai cultivated under their master, he would surely be outstanding. Indeed, the strength of the myriad supreme palm made even him want to learn it. The celestial spirit god spoke. This Emperor Xian is not simple, with a cause and effect of the heavenly Tao behind him. Tai immortal monarch scoffed. With such arrogance, he must have something to rely on. Elsewhere, Guan and Xiao Lan arrived at the Xiao family city, where Xiao Lan had also witnessed Nzizai's move. Such an overbearing divine skill. Did you teach it? Xiao Lan curiously asked. Guan smiled. I created it, 7 palms in total, and this is just the second. Can you teach me? No, only disciples in charge can cultivate it. Guan rarely refused, as he intended to make the myriad supreme palm the hallmark secret skill of the Beginningless. Though a bit disappointed, Xiao Lan didn't pester him. She then asked, what is the origin of this Emperor Xian? What if Nzizai accidentally kills him? Guan replied meaningfully, he has significant backing. A powerful cause and effect were ready to fall upon Emperor Xian to help him recover, but unfortunately, it was invisibly neutralized by Guan. This cause and effect came from the Tai Shang. Tai Shang can alter the destiny of all heavens. Emperor Xian challenging the Beginningless had already caused changes in the future, staining his undefeated path. However, Guan saw Tai Shang corrected the future, preventing the news of Emperor Xian's defeat from spreading. The duel between Emperor Xian and Nzizai also sowed seeds of calamity between Guan and Tai Shang, officially bringing the celestial spirit great world into Tai Shang's view. Guan was unfazed. Though Tai Shang was strong, the only true contender was the celestial emperor. Currently, Tai Shang is managing the celestial court, with many tasks requiring his attention, leaving him unable to focus on the celestial spirit great world. Emperor Xian was merely his pawn. However, sometimes pawns escape the chessboard. This Emperor Xian not only had extraordinary talent but also harbored immense ambition. The all heavens and myriad realms were like a prison, countless pieces looking up at Songtian, seeking not only the position of immortal gods but also the strongest throne of the celestial emperor. Brother Gu, tell me about the geniuses from other great worlds. Are there any not inferior to Emperor Xian? Xiao Lan suddenly asked, her face full of expectation. Although she now stayed with the Xiao family, she had always had the heart of a strong person. Had she not failed in achieving Taoist Emperor, she wouldn't have chosen to settle. Of course there are. Guan began to recount the geniuses he had observed. Emperor Xian was indeed formidable, but to call him the first of the heavenly Tao underestimated it. The heavenly Tao was vast, with countless great worlds and powerful domains, and geniuses were as numerous as stars in the sky. Guan occasionally observed other worlds, finding many talents catching his attention. In the days that followed, the news of Emperor Xian's crushing defeat by a third-generation disciple of the beginningless swept the world, and the name of Enzazai and the myriad supreme palm also spread to all cultivators' ears. On that day, Enzazai's answer to Su Han was heard by many great cultivators, spreading the name of the myriad supreme palm, with some even claiming it as the top secret skill in the celestial spirit, and for a time, Enzazai even gained renown as the world's #1. Meanwhile, the defeated Emperor Xian quietly retreated, and the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance did not trouble him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Emperor Xian's pupils reflected a series of battle scenes, rapidly shifting, as blood-red Tao patterns gradually emerged on his forehead, like blades clashing. Not knowing how long had passed, Emperor Xian gradually came to his senses, his vision clear, as if waking from a dream, taking deep breaths while clenching his right hand over his chest. He looked down, discovering the residual strength from the myriad supreme palm had dissipated. His state had unexpectedly returned to its peak. Emperor Xian's gaze became complex. The recent memory truly let him understand what the Taoist Emperor was and why the Taoist Emperor was born. Since the Taoist Emperor has such origins, what about the primordial Tao Emperor? Emperor Xian gazed at the distant mysterious figure and asked in a deep tone. The primordial Tao Emperor was merely created by a cultivator without any mission. He hoped to strengthen himself with this destiny, and one day the Taoist Emperor will find the creator. But to annihilate all primordial Tao Emperors will require every Taoist Emperor's action, including mine. I have traveled the furthest on the Taoist Emperor's path, but you have the hope to surpass me. I don't want you to hesitate or even take the wrong path. The mysterious figure's words enlightened Emperor Xian. No wonder he suddenly felt the primordial Tao Emperor had grown stronger. Upon reflection, it was because the creator had made a breakthrough. Thinking that the primordial Tao Emperor was backed by a cultivator made him feel awkward. Just like he couldn't imagine the heavenly Tao was some entity's will, then wouldn't all living beings be mockeries of the existence behind the heavenly Tao? Think carefully, I await your choice. After saying this, the mysterious figure turned and disappeared. Emperor Xian remained seated on the red lotus, quietly contemplating. Millions of years had passed since Emperor Xian's defeat, and the world had forgotten him, with new figures capturing everyone's attention. This year, Wuxia once again welcomed a new group of disciples, their mentors bringing them to pay respects to Enzazai. Every new disciple must face the first disciple. It's customary, every generation of Wuxia disciples must adhere to it. In the grand hall, a group of Wuxia disciples gathered together, laughing and talking, while the new disciples stood in a row facing Enzazai, diverse in seniority but similar in age. Their mentors weren't thinking much, all mutually complimenting each other's judgment. Enzazai surveyed these new disciples, his gaze suddenly resting on a black-clad youth among them. He narrowed his eyes, feeling inexplicably uneasy. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 847. Wu Xie. The young man in black looked only about 12 or 13 years old, with a delicate appearance and an unremarkable build, but his eyes were very spirited. When he saw Enzazai squint, he was so frightened that he quickly lowered his head, thinking he had offended the ancestor. Soon, the Wushiji disciples in the hall also noticed Enzazai's gaze and stopped talking, looking surprised at the young man in black. The other new disciples also became tense, sensing the subtle atmosphere, which made their hearts beat apprehensively. Could they be expelled even after stepping into Wuxia? What is your name, and why do you want to join Wuxia? Enzazai spoke, his tone indifferent, making all disciples feel tremendous pressure. Everyone's eyes fell on the young man in black, including the new disciples, increasing the pressure on him. Cautiously he raised his head, faced with Nzai's gaze, and quickly lowered it again, trembling as he answered, "My name is Wu Xie, born in Yang City. I've grown up listening to the legends of Wuxia, and I want to become a Wushiji disciple, someone like ancestor Master Wuxia." Yang City is a city on the Nine-Spirit continent, not particularly prosperous but known nevertheless. And Nzai could naturally deduce Wu Xie's background, but he wanted to hear what Wu Xie had to say. From his origins, Wu Xie appeared without any suspicious points, as if he naturally belonged to Wuxia. To this day, Wuxia recruits disciples from the Nine-Spirit continent, which is now filled with spiritual energy, producing beings with greater talent than the celestial spirit great world, similar to the past immortal dynasty. Beings on the Nine-Spirit continent aspire to become Wushiji disciples. Entering Wuxia sect is the highest honor. Even though the Nine-Spirit continent is harmonious, there are also conflicts in secret. If an aristocratic family produces a Wushiji disciple, the family's status will rise significantly. Wu Xie is born into such a family, and both he and his family hope that he can become a Wushiji disciple. Fearful of possibly being rejected, Wu Xie felt anxious and wished he could slap himself. Why did he stare at the ancestor just now? Meanwhile, he harbored a slight grievance, thinking he wasn't deliberately disrespectful, just overly excited. And Nzai's gaze was complex. Rationally, he knew Wu Xie had no problems, yet Wu Xie made him feel uncomfortable, an unease he couldn't explain. His thoughts inexplicably turned to words spoken by the ancestor many years ago, that Wuxia would give birth to a great calamity. Because of the ancestor's words, he set stricter standards for recruiting disciples, meeting each new disciple personally. And Nzai took a deep breath, aware that everyone was watching him, knowing he must remain composed. Henceforth, you are all Wushiji disciples. Remember, Wushiji disciples must not intervene in worldly affairs unless the world faces trouble. Brothers must not damage each other. If discovered, their cultivation level will be abolished and they will be cast into reincarnation. And Nzai said expressionlessly, shifting his gaze from Wu Xie to all new disciples. Upon hearing this, a Wushiji disciple quickly said, "Hurry and kneel to thank the ancestor." Sar the Novel Fire, NE*T website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The new disciples were overjoyed, kneeling to thank Nzai. And Nzai waved his sleeve, signaling for them to withdraw. The Wushiji disciples left with their apprentices, and soon only Nzai and a fourth-generation disciple remained in the hall. This fourth-generation disciple, named Hai Yuan, was Nzai's most capable junior, assisting him in managing Wuxia. Hai Yuan wore a blue Taoist robe, his hair black and white, and carried an elegant scholarly aura. He frowned at Nzai and asked, "Uncle, what problem does the disciple called Wu Xie have?" It was the first time he had seen Nzai show such an attitude towards a new disciple. "Hai Yuan, remember when I spoke of the Wuxia calamity? I have an intuition that the disciple called Wu Xie is that calamity. However, he currently hasn't committed any offense, so I can't punish him or expel him," Nzai said with a complex tone. Hai Yuan had heard of this, originating from the ancestor's words, and believed it firmly. Hearing Nzai's judgment, he did not hesitate but seriously said, "Uncle, if it's difficult for you to handle, I can do it. I'll expel him." And Nzai glanced at him, unable to resist shaking his head and smiling. The nephew was very similar to Zhuang Xian, except Zhuang Xian only believed in justice, whereas Hai Yuan only believed in him. "Forget it, let's keep observing. If it's destined for Wuxia to have a calamity, driving him away will only lead to another appearing. Better we nurture him earnestly and see if we can overcome the celestial mandate spoken by the ancestor." And Nzai smiled, dispelling the earlier gloom, even showing a hint of anticipation. He had observed Wu Xie's unparalleled talent, seemingly having a powerful physique as Dao Intent approached him, a gift unmatched by other new disciples. A disciple like him, if continuously monitored and well-trained, might become the foremost of the new generation in Wuxia. Hai Yuan heard this but did not agree. He felt the uncle underestimated human nature, but he couldn't say it outright. Hai Yuan secretly decided to closely monitor Wu Xie, and if he displayed any inappropriate behavior, he would persuade the uncle to expel him from Wuxia. On the other hand, Wu Xie had emerged from tense emotions, following his master and listening to his introductions about the peaks along the way. His eyes filled with longing. He had finally become a Wushiji disciple. He must not bring disgrace to his family and aims to become the greatest in Wuxia, even making the legendary ancestor Master Wuxia proud of him. Little did he know, the ancestor master he dreamed of was just hundreds of miles away. Guan sat by the lake fishing. Despite the growing number of Wushiji disciples, his aura was so ethereal that divine sense couldn't detect him unless approaching closely, allowing him peace. He too was observing Wu Xie. Interesting, managing to extend to the dojo. Though the process was intricate, it's indeed resourceful. Guan murmured, a faint smile appearing. Wu Xie posed no issue, but Wu Xie's primordial ancestor did. When alive, the primordial ancestor was invaded by the great Tao destiny of the Taoist emperor, always lurking, later joining the nine-spirit continent and passing on this destiny. Long ago, Guan had noticed this but did not mind, even anticipating what might transpire. He did not resist the Taoist emperor, though unfortunately, the Taoist emperor disliked him. Great Tao destiny is not just between you and me. Guan murmured leisurely. At that point, the fishing rod began moving, compelling him to sit up straight and start pulling the rod. After a tugging battle, he retrieved the rod, with a half-transparent goldfish hooked. It transformed from spiritual energy in the lake, possessing spiritual intelligence, unlike beings, and he called them lake spirits. The lake spirits struggled on the hook, and Guan removed and released it back into the lake before continuing to fish. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 848. Wu Xie entered Wuxia without causing any stir within, while Zizai and Hai Yuan only paid attention to him secretly. Sir, the Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. 100 years later, Zizai summoned Wu Xie. Having grown up, Wu Xie was elegant and handsome, and like most Wuxia disciples, had the demeanor of the immortal family. He still wore black clothes, but his outfit had become more refined, with a cyan jade hairpin on his hair crown, exuding extraordinary poise. Zizai met him on a cliff. Wu Xie came up behind Zizai and bowed to salute. Wu Xie greets ancestor. Wu Xie's tone was neither humble nor arrogant. Upon careful listening, one could hear a hint of flair in his voice. Since joining Wuxia, he had been cultivating and hadn't met Zizai again, but he couldn't forget the embarrassment when he first met Zizai. On the way here, he wondered why ancestor had summoned him. He couldn't understand but wasn't worried, because he was already a Wuxia disciple. His master and his master's master both regarded him highly. Even if the third-generation senior disciple wanted to trouble him, they would need a reason. Zizai, with his back to Wu Xie, gazed at the distant mountains and forests, and spoke. Your talent is outstanding, and your comprehension is rare for a millennium. I will make an exception to teach you divine skills. What kind of divine skill do you want to learn? Upon hearing this, Wu Xie's eyes lit up, and he immediately said, I want to learn the Myriad Supreme Palm. The Myriad Supreme Palm, which overwhelmed the Outer Heaven Emperor and gained fame throughout the land, was something Wu Xie heard his family talk about in his youth. If he could join Wuxia, he must learn the Myriad Supreme Palm. The Myriad Supreme Palm can only be practiced by the Wuxia senior disciple. The so-called senior disciple is not every generation's senior disciple but the one who wields great power among them. As Zizai spoke, he turned to look at Wu Xie. He examined Wu Xie and asked, Do you think you can become the senior disciple? I will try hard. Since I am cultivating immortality, I have great ambitions. I don't want to live a lifetime of quiet cultivation. When Wu Xie said this, his eyes were bright and fearless as he met Zizai's gaze, full of vigor, like a sharp sword drawn from its sheath. Zizai had to admit that he liked Wu Xie's sharpness because it was something other disciples did not possess, only seen in the world's #1 prodigy. But the thought of Wu Xie using Wuxi's divine skills to cause chaos in the human world gave him some discomfort. Ancestor, I temporarily lack the qualifications to practice the Myriad Supreme Palm. Why don't you decide? Whatever you teach I will learn. I'm not picky. I feel that only by mastering all divine skills and Taoist techniques can I reach the ancestor's realm. Wu Xie said excitedly, Mentioning the ancestor, he clenched his fists tightly. And Zazai nodded and said, then start with learning the escape skill first. Penetrating the essence of all things is seeing through all things, which will aid in your comprehension of heaven and earth. Thank you, ancestor. Wu Xie saluted again. Thus, Wu Xie began to follow in Zazai in cultivation. This matter spread within Wuxia. The current generation of Wuxia disciples had been passed down for 26 generations, and although Wu Xie was accepted by the 14th generation disciple, making his lineage relatively high, being specially cared for by Zazai was rare. Everyone could feel a new star rising, and Wu Xie might become a representative figure of Wuxia. Since then, many disciples took the initiative to visit Wu Xie, making his pride grow ever larger. 10,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Wu Xie had already become a genius disciple of Wuxia, and his fame even spread beyond the nine-spirit continent. On this day, Su Han came to the bamboo forest to visit Gu En, talking about Wu Xie. This Wu Xie is truly extraordinary. After merely 10,000 years of cultivating immortality, he's already a divine thought true immortal. The key is his comprehension. He can learn any divine skill or spell just by seeing it once. It's simply absurd. Su Han said, standing in front of Gu En, spreading his palms, his tone helpless. Once, he thought his talent was the highest, but after coming to Wuxia, he found geniuses abound, and some people's talents amazed him. Wu Xie's sudden rise made him feel that the foundation of the nine-spirit continent and the celestial spirit great world aren't on the same level. Gu En, who was reading a book, casually said, that's just because the divine skills he encountered were too low level. Some divine skills cannot be mastered just by seeing them once. I know, but facing most Taoist techniques with such comprehension is already very exaggerated. I heard the senior brother personally taught him. Ancestor, is there an arrangement of yours in this? Su Han asked curiously. He had a good relationship with Zazai, knowing Zazai's character. Since Zazai's disciples grew up, he stopped accepting disciples and wouldn't teach other disciples to cultivate. Wu Xie was an exception. Everyone could feel that Zazai had high hopes for Wu Xie, and Su Han thought the same. I am very busy and have no time to pay attention to these matters. Gu En responded carelessly, then turned to a new page. Seeing his action, Su Han had many grievances he wanted to express but held back. Is Gu En busy? Su Han used to think so, but after spending a lot of time with him, he truly felt that Ancestor was the most idle person. But it was precisely because he's the most idle that made his thoughts impossible to fathom. Su Han, if Wuxia faces a catastrophe and I cannot intervene, what would you do? Gu En suddenly asked, his gaze never leaving the pages. Su Han, hearing this, was stunned, for he wouldn't think that Ancestor would ask meaningless questions. In an instant, he thought of many possibilities, and his mood sank abruptly. I am a Wuxia disciple. I must defend Wuxia even if it costs my life. Su Han said firmly. This was indeed his heartfelt sentiment. Gu En could hear that he had already hypothesized numerous terrifying scenarios. Some assumptions even amused Gu En. Gu En glanced at him, smiled. You don't need to be tense. There will never be a situation where I cannot intervene, only whether I want to or not. Upon hearing this, Su Han breathed a sigh of relief, and then he became alert again. If Wuxia faced a catastrophe, would Ancestor have a situation of not wanting to intervene? If it were other disciples, they might not think this far, but his grandfather came from the Supreme Sect. He knew of Ancestor's past with the Supreme Sect, knowing the Ancestor once supported and later abandoned the Supreme Sect. Could it be that one day, Ancestor would abandon Wuxia? Gu En listened to his inner voice, thinking he indeed dares to speculate. Actually, Gu En had no intention of abandoning Wuxia, as he had personally established it. But if Wuxia faced troubles that disciples could solve, he wouldn't intervene. Recently, Wu Xin had brought him insight, giving him more thoughts about Wuxia. Since Wuxia had grown, why not make it grow even larger? He wasn't aiming to compete, but just wanted to see if the Wuxia he founded differed from the various major sects of the heavens. 10,000 years from now, you take a group of Wuxia disciples to the path of the Great Tao for training. It's also an opportunity for your honing. Gu En said softly. When Su Han heard this, his eyes immediately brightened. He had long wanted to venture onto the path of the Great Tao. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 849. The Patriarch's approval. Guan arranged for Su Han to lead the disciples to the path of the Great Tao, not with any special intention, but simply because many disciples wanted to go, so he decided to fulfill their wish. He couldn't let all the disciples stay within the beginningless forever. A cultivation lacking freedom has no meaning. Of course, Guan's change in mindset was still due to his own cultivation levels improvement, and his concerns were becoming less. Over the years, although his cultivation level hasn't changed significantly, his understanding of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao has deepened, and he is even pursuing the Saint Realm. The closer he gets to the Saint Realm, the deeper his insights become. These insights also include thoughts on how to conduct oneself. Deliberately not doing something actually lacks authenticity. Acting with spontaneity is the true self. The peaceful life continues, even though the affairs of the world are constantly changing. They don't affect Guan. Millions of years later, Su Han, together with over 100 Wushiji disciples, stepped into the 10,000 Realms Gate, heading towards the path of the Great Tao, including Wu Xie. And this year, the unbeaten Emperor ancestor sent a descendant to cultivate within the beginningless. This child was also his chosen candidate for ascension to immortality. He not only wanted this child to become an immortal god, but also hoped this child would possess the identity of a Wushiji disciple. Guan did not refuse. The unbeaten Emperor ancestor has branches in the celestial spirit great world. Although they do not stir the winds and clouds of the world, once their foundation unfolds, it will surely be astonishing. Guan agreed because this emperor clan behaved very discreetly, which satisfied him. For Guan, this matter was merely a minor incident, not disturbing his life pace. He let Jiangshi teach that emperor clan descendant. 8 million years later. S.E.A. The Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Su Han returned with that group of disciples. No one had fallen, and Wu Xie once again became the focus. He was like the Emperor Xian, possessing the destiny of both the Great Tao Emperor and the Primordial Tao Emperor. The day after he returned, Wu Xie went to visit Nzizai. Nzizai had constructed a pavilion on a high peak, situated on the mountainside, providing a view of thousands of miles. Master Ancestor, I've returned. Wu Xie, already a heaven-encompassing free immortal, stood in front of the table, looking at Nzizai, smiling with high spirits. Nzizai scrutinized him, while he faced it openly. Although the young man still carried immense arrogance, Nzizai could feel that he hadn't changed much from millions of years ago. Tell me about your experiences these years. Nzizai said, simultaneously gesturing for Wu Xie to sit down. He was secretly shocked, for it hadn't been long since Wu Xie's cultivation level had caught up with him. Though he still had confidence in subduing Wu Xie's rapid growth made him somewhat uneasy. If Wu Xie truly became a threat and he couldn't contain him, wouldn't it cause trouble for the Master Ancestor? Wu Xie was unaware of Nzizai's thoughts, and after sitting down, he began to speak incessantly about his years of experience. Quickly, Nzizai too was drawn in by his experiences. To become a great Tao Emperor, one must engage in battles on the Emperor Road, competing with Tao seekers of the same realm. The great Tao destiny would guide him to find opponents, and amidst battles, he would reflect upon the myriad heavens, cultivating the path of the primordial Tao Emperor. In the 8 million years, he and other Wushiji disciples experienced many things together, including grudges and emotions. He even recounted a portion of his marriage. The woman from the Tai Great World indeed moved my heart, but I won't forget my original intention, so I chose to defeat her, not only ending her Emperor Road but also severing my bond with her. I don't want to go to the Tai Great World. I belong to the beginningless. All my accomplishments should be rewarded to the beginningless, not taken away by others on the road. When saying this, Wu Xie's face was full of determination, as if trying hard to convince himself. Nzizai had no comment on this matter because he too once severed this type of emotion. He had already surpassed the mortal spirit, not driven by instinctive desires. Ordinary emotions seldom moved him. Wu Xie looked up at Nzizai and smiled, saying, actually, I was able to achieve the great Tao Emperor thanks to the fellow disciples. If it weren't for them desperately protecting me every time I got injured, I would have died long ago. Truly, the so-called Emperor Road seems like a battle of heaven's chosen ones, but it's actually a contest of forces. Other heaven's chosen ones also have their own forces supporting them. But I've observed so many forces and feel that our beginningless is still the best, pure and simple, without so many entangled interests, without jealousy among disciples, only genuine happiness for fellow disciples. And Zizai finally showed a smile and asked, "Do you truly think so?" Initially, when Wu Xie wanted to go to the path of the great Tao, he was very troubled. However, many came to persuade him, all saying that Wu Xie's talent shouldn't be wasted, that he should go out and venture. He didn't have enough reasons to refuse, so in the end, he agreed. Throughout the 8 million years, he often worried that Wu Xie might turn bad, but it seemed that wasn't the case. He suddenly wondered if he had judged incorrectly. The threat is not Wu Xie. Maybe it's due to Wu Xie, like his disciples or descendants. Of course, Master Ancestor, I plan to preach my insights to other disciples. What do you think? Would it violate any rules? Wu Xie responded without hesitation. And Zizai naturally had no objections. In his view, the Great Tao Emperor and Primordial Tao Emperor weren't vastly different, just different paths of cultivation. If Wushiji disciples could have more choices, that would be even better. He was very pleased with Wu Xie's broad-mindedness, so he decided to personally help Wu Xie establish a dojo for disciples to come and listen to teachings. In the days that followed, Wu Xie smoothly preached, his teachings benefiting many disciples, greatly enhancing his status and prestige, and his deeds on the path of the Great Tao became widely known. One evening, when Guan returned to the mountaintop courtyard, he overheard Celestial Demon Child, Shen Zhan, and Shangguan Xiener discussing Wu Xie, feeling that Wu Xie was outstanding, more brilliant than past disciples, even more exceptional than Tian Hao. Tian Hao had displayed his talent the moment he left the beginningless, but Wu Xie, despite having already become a heaven-encompassing free immortal, remained steadfast in the beginningless. Moreover, Wu Xie's cultivation speed indeed surpassed all Wushiji disciples. Celestial Demon Child asked Guan for his thoughts on Wu Xie, and he simply gave a brief compliment. Once he returned inside, the three women remarked that it's true he doesn't care about his junior's accomplishments. Indeed, after all, he is too strong. Thus, Wu Xie became the most outstanding existence among Wushiji disciples, and afterward, whenever Zizai went out, he would take him along. Wu Xie would also spar with heaven's chosen ones and great powers from various great heaven and earth sects, both showcasing the foundation of the beginningless and deterring the ambition of those sections. The beginningless wouldn't engage in conquest, but if anyone attempted to disrupt the heavens and earth, the beginningless wouldn't stand by idly. Competition among forces can proceed, but there mustn't be any evil demon methods sacrificing all living beings and slaughtering innocent spirits. For Wu Xie, life became glorious, yet he always felt regretful inside. He hadn't had a real conversation with the ancestor. They only occasionally passed by each other. Without the ancestor's recognition, he always felt he wasn't strong enough and couldn't be considered a true genius. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 850. A Moment's Difference Rumble. In the dim cosmic void, the sound of thunder echoed, overwhelmingly oppressive. Xu and Zhang Buku, clad in golden battle armor, soared through the clouds. Their gaze was fixed on the depths of the void, where red clouds surged, seemingly like a massive and terrifying demon bearing its claws and fangs. This realm is at the edge of the heavenly Tao, and the destiny here is weak. Occasionally, chaos evil demons invade. We must be extremely cautious this time. Once we find the life-heart mysterious iron, we'll withdraw immediately. Suyu turned his head to Zhang Buku and earnestly said. Zhang Buku rolled his eyes and snapped. Whenever have you not been the more reckless one between us? Suyu laughed and said, I'm just worried you might become conceited after your breakthrough. As they bantered, they flew onward, their divine sense sweeping across the void, scanning one meteor after another. After a long while, the two arrived at a dark red void, dotted with red spots and intertwined lightning. There were not only meteors here but also pieces of broken continents and even remnants of ancient, colossal buildings floating. Zhang Buku suddenly felt uneasy, as if a terrifying power was secretly watching them, making him even more vigilant. Suyu raised his right hand and wiped his forehead, where a vertical eye opened, bursting with golden light, creating multiple golden eye shadows. The two continued forward in silence. "The life-heart mysterious iron is over there." Suyu suddenly spoke. His figure flashed, appearing out of thin air on a meteor, which seemed small from afar but felt like a vast and desolate land upon his landing. Before him lay a massive iron stone reflecting cold light, like the blade of a giant sword piercing the ground, towering 1,000 feet high. Zhang Buku joined Suyu by his side, his face showing delight upon seeing the life-heart mysterious iron. Suyu wasted no time and raised his hand, attempting to extract the life-heart mysterious iron, but his expression changed the next second. The life-heart mysterious iron trembled but remained firmly on the ground. Frowning, Zhang Buku also raised his hand, using his mana to assist Suyu. Yet, even combined efforts could not pull the iron from the ground, as if a formidable hand was dragging it below. "No, we must abandon this piece," Zhang Buku said solemnly, feeling certain that continuing would lead to disaster. Suyu replied seriously, "There is certainly danger further ahead. The best outcome is taking this piece. Persist a little longer, and if unsuccessful, then abandon." The golden eye on Suyu's forehead opened wide, and a beam of golden light shone on the life-heart mysterious iron, a golden stream flowing down its surface and penetrating the soil. Rumble. The ground began to quake. More precisely, the entire meteor trembled as though about to explode. Suyu's face changed drastically. He instantly grasped Zhang Buku's wrist, carrying him away. Zhang Buku, momentarily flustered, pulled out a divine weapon with his other hand. An unimaginable pressure descended, darkening the void further, pressing upon Zhang Buku and Suyu, who instinctively unleashed all their mana to resist. "We are no longer immortal gods. If we die, we are truly consigned to oblivion." Suyu gritted his teeth, a treasure tower appearing on his hand. He raised it, and it emitted azure light enveloping them. Yet the pressure remained intense and their flight speed slowed significantly. "Need you say it? I told you to stop earlier, but you didn't listen." Search *the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhang Buku muttered with darkened expression, having experienced such situations countless times, almost used to them. Then, their visions suddenly darkened. Zhang Buku instinctively looked up, seeing a colossal dark hand descending towards them. Even though they hadn't halted, the hand remained overhead as if their flight was ineffective. Grinding his teeth, Zhang Buku tightly gripped his divine weapon and struck upwards despite knowing the disparity in strength. He resolved to fight. Meanwhile, Ji-Yu and, far away on the immortal-seeking island in the celestial spirit great world, observed Zhang Buku's calamity within an auction. Named Buku, yet suffering endlessly. "Oh my dear disciple, truly hard to safeguard you," Guan murmured, seated in a private room of a pavilion, where translucent curtains allowed him a view of the terrace outside. On the terrace, a cultivator was showcasing auction items, while the other rooms were shrouded by curtains, appearing engulfed in dark mist from outside, obscuring their interiors. Guan was not there to buy anything, just to enjoy the spectacle. The calamity that befell Zhang Buku drew his attention. Zhang Buku had cultivated in the celestial extreme 9 heavens for years, recently breaking through to the innate golden immortal realm. He and Suyu ventured to that realm to seek materials for crafting supreme treasures. Having forged the Vajra undying body, his strength far exceeded his realm, necessitating a fitting supreme treasure to reveal his divine skill's power. They faced misfortune not due to bad luck but premeditated targeting. Dark Heavenly Court. More precisely, the Dark Heavenly Court targeted Suyu, not Zhang Buku. Acting was Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, whose cultivation level was Mixed Element Profound Venerable Immortal. Even if Suyu unleashed his heavenly sun origin, he was no match for such a foe. Guan didn't immediately intervene to rescue Zhang Buku, having foreseen Zhang Buku's future. Though Zhang Buku would endure hardship under Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, he would also gain substantial opportunities, leading to a surge in cultivation level. Even if Zhang Buku became tainted by the Dark Heavenly Court's destiny, Guan knew ways to extricate him from the sea of suffering. Guan looked at Emperor Bone Profound Venerable, his sentiments starkly different from their previous encounter. During their last confrontation, though Emperor Bone Profound Venerable wasn't his match, now, Everything about Emperor Bone Profound Venerable was apparent to him. He could dictate his fate and negate his past. When Emperor Bone Profound Venerable led the Dark Heavenly Court against the Celestial Court, the Celestial Emperor likely felt similar. In chaos or the Heavenly Tao, Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's strength was formidable, yet to Guan and the Celestial Emperor, he was akin to a mortal spirit. Guan pondered whether higher-level existences viewed him and the Celestial Emperor similarly. Currently, he didn't sense such power, but he would assume it existed. Such invisible pressure kept him grounded. Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao wasn't enough for him. He aimed to not only surpass Emperor Bone Profound Venerable by one great realm but 2, 3, 4, even more. As long as life evolution continues, his limits won't exist. If you make the right choice for him, there's a path to life. If you choose wrongly, if the Celestial Emperor doesn't destroy you, then I will. Relaxed in his chair, Guan propped his face with one hand, speaking softly. Everyone possesses myriad fates. A single thought can alter their destiny. Guan kept all of Emperor Bone Profound Venerable's potential fates in view. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 851. Surpassing the Son of Heaven. Zhang Buku felt like he was having a long and indistinct dream, in which he was very tired, not knowing what he was doing, as if some terrifying presence was continuously chasing him. Finally, his consciousness detached from that heavy dream and began to awaken. He opened his eyes, and what came into his view was the endlessly high gray sky, clouds layered circle upon circle, making the sky appear so distant. He widened his eyes, suddenly sat up, and discovered he was sitting on the water's surface, with a sense of grounded stability beneath him, as if it were solid ground. He focused his gaze and saw at the end of the water surface a vast fog, while in front of the fog, Suyu stood, facing away from him. He stood up and asked, "Suyu, are you okay?" Suyu did not answer him, nor did he turn around, which made Zhang Buku frown. His divine sense had already dispersed, but he could not touch that fog. He did not know what was hidden within it. The divine sense swept in other directions, finding no signs of life for the time being, which made him suspect even more that an unknown and terrifying existence was hidden in the fog. Seeing that Suyu was still not turning around, Zhang Buku hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. His divine sense could perceive Suyu's expression. Suyu was not lost in a trance but was frowning, his eyes fixed on the front, seemingly observing something. Zhang Buku came beside Suyu and asked softly, "What are you looking at? Why are you not answering me?" Suyu gazed ahead and said in a deep voice, "Standing here, do you think it will be bad? The real trouble is about to start, and we have nowhere to escape." Upon hearing this, Zhang Buku looked ahead. As he watched, he found the murky fog had become clear. Deep within the fog seemed to be a small mountain, atop which sat a mysterious figure, with a languid posture but exuding an overwhelming arrogance. Looking at this figure, Zhang Buku suddenly felt a strong urge to kneel in worship. He struggled to control this emotion, which made his whole body stiff. He stared at that figure, falling into a trance, becoming as unresponsive as Suyu. Through the fog, that mysterious figure sitting on the small mountain was none other than the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable still maintained his form of white bone, wearing a dragon head golden crown, with beads gently swaying in the wind, and a dark golden long spear standing behind him, leaning against his back. At this moment, Emperor Bone Profound Venerable was scrutinizing Zhang Buku. He initially came for Suyu, but he discovered Zhang Buku was not ordinary. This child's destiny had clearly been altered multiple times, and furthermore, he was brewing a special kind of fortune. Compared to Suyu, Zhang Buku unexpectedly held greater potential. Born of mortal spirit, yet able to surpass the Son of Heaven, Emperor Bone Profound Venerable felt it would be a pity to kill this child directly. Perhaps he could be nurtured. Though the creatures of the Dark Heavenly Court could also reproduce, in terms of talent, the geniuses of the Heavenly Tao were still superior. To truly overthrow the Heavenly Court, greater strength must be accumulated. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable recalled the previous battle. The Celestial Emperor did not even appear, yet he was defeated by a Celestial Tao Venerable. Moreover, before this, he was defeated by a mysterious being. As a primordial profound venerable immortal, he had suffered 2 defeats in a row. He could not accept this fact. After ending the war with the Heavenly Court, he temporarily left the Dark Heavenly Court to seek his own chances. He had his eyes on the Son of Heaven's root bones, aiming to explore the power of the Celestial Emperor through him. Unexpectedly, capturing the Son of Heaven led to an unexpected joy. Emperor Bone Profound Venerable pondered while increasing his own pressure of cause and effect, intending to test Zhang Buku and Su Yu. On the other side, Guan had already returned to Wuxia, and after confirming that Zhang Buku would not encounter any trouble in the short term, he no longer paid attention. That plane had already detached from the heavenly Tao. The world contained rules that isolated the probing of cause and effect, making it difficult even for a Tao Extreme Daluo immortal to find it, but for Guan, he could step right in. Moreover, Guan could transcend time. Even if Emperor Bone Profound Venerable killed Zhang Buku, Guan could cross to the time before Zhang Buku's death. This is the power of the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao. Of course, the Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao cannot change his past before reaching this realm. When Guan reached the level of Supreme Emperor of Ultimate Merging Tao, everything in the past became illusory, belonging to his past, but others cannot probe into this past, nor traverse to the past to kill him. Returning to the courtyard, Guan saw Zhen Qin coming over, chatting with Shen Zhen. Upon seeing Guan return, Zhen Qin quickly stood up and bowed to Guan. "I've told you countless times, no need for formalities between us," Guan said with a smile, one that was kindly, instantly relaxing Zhen Qin quite a bit. She smiled sheepishly and followed with, "Master, I came to find you because I wish to enter the 10,000 Realms Gate, to travel and explore a bit. What do you think?" The 10,000 Realms Gate is the most magnificent structure on the 9-spirit continent, leading to all heavens and myriad realms, more transformative than the World Gate deep in the universe. However, the 10,000 Realms Gate only allows exit, but no entry. Once you leave through it, you'll have to find another way to return. Guan casually replied, "If you want to go, go ahead. I won't stop you." Nowadays, Wushiji disciples are spread across the 3,000 great worlds in various domains. Some perish, some take root and establish their own sections. Guan will not interfere as long as they make their choice. Zhen Qin is different from other disciples. If she ventures out, Guan will surely watch over her secretly. He is not worried about Zhen Qin making a move. He only needs a thought to resolve all the troubles Zhen Qin will encounter next. "Master, although I want to leave, I'm not in a hurry to go. Can you see if there's anything I can do for you? Leaving just like that, not knowing when I can return. My conscience would be uneasy because I haven't been able to repay you yet. Of course, if I gain great fortune someday, I will definitely return." Zhen Qin came to Guan, playfully, her smile journeying his thoughts back over 1,000,000,000 years ago, when she was still struggling in the outer Taishan sect. Guan raised his hand, ruffled her hair and said with a smile, "Master doesn't need you to repay anything, don't overthink. In the future, if you encounter difficulties you can't solve, just call out to Master, and Master will have Wuxia Divine Sparrow come to your aid." As the words fell, a 7-colored rainbow descended from the sky, landing on Guan's shoulder, none other than the Wuxia Divine Sparrow. The Wuxia Divine Sparrow tilted its head to look at Zhen Qin, its eyes lively and innocent like a child's. CTH Novelfire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Zhen Qin couldn't help but ask curiously, "Is the Wuxia Divine Sparrow really that powerful?" She suddenly recalled a legend. During the Son of Heaven struggle, a divine sparrow with a glow of 7 colors saved the 3,000 great worlds. Could it be that the Divine Sparrow was the Wuxia Divine Sparrow? Yet, looking at the Wuxia Divine Sparrow on Master's shoulder, she found it hard to imagine this little creature possessing such powerful strength. Guan laughed. "Naturally, the divine beings I raise are surely powerful. Moreover, you will meet your elder Leah later. If he gets injured, you can tell him if he can't hold on, just come to Wuxia. Wuxia can satisfy his ambition to become stronger. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 852. The Calamity returns. Even though she received Guan's promise of protection, Zhen Qin did not let down her guard. Before entering the 10,000 Realms Gate, She chose to enter a lengthy seclusion. Time continued to pass. Following an Xian, another innate golden immortal emerged within the beginningless, none other than the Blood Prison Great Saint. The breakthrough of the Blood Prison Great Saint caused quite a stir, sparking a pursuit of becoming innate golden immortals within the beginningless. Now in the Taoist field of the beginningless, the number of heaven-encompassing free immortals surpassed 50. Excluding second-generation disciples, everyone else is among the most outstanding talents of each generation. Not inferior even compared to past figures like Tian Hao, Zhao Rushan, Emperor Tianhong, and Yuan Luo. In the midst of this trend, Zhan Qin quietly entered the 10,000 Realms Gate, which Su Han only found out about afterward, leaving him very concerned for Zhan Qin. 20 million years later, someone achieved the innate golden immortal realm, shaking the entire dojo. It was none other than the 15th generation disciple, Wu Xie. He was the youngest innate golden immortal within the beginningless, making any genius pale in comparison. Even second-generation disciples came out of seclusion to witness him. Wu Xie crossed the tribulation within the dojo with an earth-shattering commotion. Upon successfully crossing it, he continued to consolidate his cultivation, attracting many disciples to observe. In the courtyard, Guan was sitting on a chair in front of the artifact refining cauldron, one hand holding a book and the other controlling the Tai Ching True Fire underneath the cauldron. SAR the Novel Fire. NT website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. A group of disciples entered the yard, still talking about Wu Xie. The fact that a 15th generation disciple surpassed many second-generation disciples to achieve the innate golden immortal first truly surprised them. They had always paid attention to Wu Xie and believed he had unparalleled talent, yet when Wu Xie surpassed them, they felt it was unreal. Such a cultivation speed was truly exaggerated. And Zizai also came. He had not yet achieved the innate golden immortal realm but was still genuinely happy for Wu Xie. He once worried that Wu Xie would become a scourge for the beginningless, but after tens of millions of years together, he believed Wu Xie would not be that scourge. And Zizai quickly approached Guan, bowed, and excitedly said, "Ancestor, Wu Xie really achieved the innate golden immortal." Guan did not look at him, only responding with a hum. And Zizai noticed spiritual energy surging within the artifact refining cauldron. Bravely he asked, "Ancestor, Wu Xie hasn't done any great deeds, but he's now a genius representative among the disciples of the beginningless. Do you think you could grant him a Tao treasure?" The Tao treasures Guan gave them were exceptionally powerful. Outside, they had never encountered treasures stronger than Tao treasures. Tao treasures could not only facilitate combat but also help them cultivate and guide them in understanding the great Tao. Tao treasures have become the highest award within the beginningless. And Zizai had always known of Wu Xie's desire for the ancestor's approval. He secretly wondered why the ancestor gave special care to Su Han and Duan Li, but never showed interest in a talent like Wu Xie. Achieving the innate golden immortal is indeed impressive, and the Tao treasure within this cauldron was crafted for him. Guan replied. He neither particularly favored nor disliked Wu Xie, and naturally wouldn't suppress him. Wu Xie's achievement of the innate golden immortal indeed invigorated the beginningless disciples, deserving of a reward. Upon hearing this, and Zizai was taken aback, asking, "Ancestor, you opened the cauldron millions of years ago, could it be that you foresaw he would successfully break through?" Guan glanced at him and said brusquely, "I've long told you, all your futures are in my eyes. I also know you're about to achieve the innate golden immortal too." And Zizai scratched his head, offering an awkward smile. Although he admired the ancestor, when the ancestor displayed abilities beyond his comprehension, it continued to astound him. Other second-generation disciples heard that Zizai was close to reaching the innate golden immortal and gathered around him. "Well done, you rascal." And Shengtian, who shared the same surname, punched Zizai. Being a descendant of an Hao, he had followed Guan in cultivation for over 100 million years, yet hadn't found a chance to break through to the innate golden immortal, and he couldn't help but admire this junior. Celestial Cyan, Tian Bai, Jiang Shi, Blood Prison Great Saint, and others also praised Zizai, making him feel embarrassed. In front of his juniors, he was the stern senior brother and ancestor, but in front of his seniors, he was always uneasy. Guan did not interrupt their discussion. Blood Prison Great Saint even asked him for his opinion on Wu Xie. What is there to evaluate? He's the greatest genius in the history of the beginningless. Is there anyone who doubts it? Guan replied casually, leaving everyone speechless. Months later, Wu Xie had finished consolidating his cultivation, and on his way back to the cave mansion, he heard other disciples mention Guan's words. The greatest genius in all of history. Wu Xie felt both elated and terrified. He had never had a one-on-one encounter with the ancestor and was unclear about what kind of person the ancestor was. All along, he behaved conspicuously just to attract the ancestor's attention, but he had never succeeded. Now, having truly received the ancestor's praise, he instead felt a bit flustered. Afraid it was a jest, he asked many people, and even Enzazai confirmed that the ancestor indeed said so, leaving him in immense satisfaction. He really wanted to meet the ancestor, but didn't dare to visit proactively. In the following days, he would deliberately or inadvertently stroll around the mountain path Guan usually passed by. When he encountered Guan, all he received was a slight nod, making him hesitant to approach. During each encounter, Wu Xie could only watch Guan leave, inwardly annoyed at his lack of courage. Guan didn't intentionally cold-shoulder Wu Xie. After all, he did nod at him. He could hear Wu Xie's inner thoughts but couldn't possibly go out of his way to chat with him. He genuinely wasn't interested in Wu Xie as a person, just not sharing common interests. Wu Xie was entirely a cultivation fanatic. Neither reading books, drawing, nor fishing. He was simply uninteresting. A century later, Wu Xie completely gave up on the idea of seeking out the ancestor. He decided to dedicate himself once more, continuing to enter closed-door cultivation. Achieving the innate golden immortal was not enough. He would continue to break through. He wanted the ancestor to personally summon him, to hear the ancestor praise him with his own ears. This goal invigorated Wu Xie greatly, making him train even more diligently than before his breakthrough into the innate golden immortal realm. On this day, towards the end of spring, Enzazai came to the lakeside to meet Guan. This time, Guan had actively summoned him. This was something Wu Xie dreamed of, but for Enzazai, it was a source of pressure. Guan rarely sought him out in this manner, so being called alone this time, something major must have happened. Sure enough, just after he finished bowing, he heard the first sentence from the ancestor which made his expression change hugely. The calamity of the 3,000 great worlds is here again. This time, it will affect the beginningless, unlike before. Hearing these words, Enzazai wasn't surprised because the peaceful times had lasted too long, so any disturbance was understandable. Where does this calamity come from, and why will it affect the beginningless? Enzazai hurriedly asked. Guan replied, this time the calamity originates from within the celestial court and involves the Son of Heaven. Tian Hao is the reincarnation of the Son of Heaven and has already returned to the celestial spirit great world. If someone comes to seize him, do you think the beginningless can stand by indifferently? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 853. Marshal of Heaven, the Celestial Court. Tian Hao. With these two names appearing together, Enzazai immediately understood that the impending calamity would be even greater than the previous power struggle among the Sons of Heaven. Guan then briefly discussed the situation regarding the Heavenly Emperor, without revealing too much, but ensuring that Enzazai understood what he would face next, while advising Enzazai not to disclose the matter and simply focus on planning his strategy to manage the calamity. Enzazai grasped Guan's true intention. This was both a calamity for Wuxia and a trial set by the ancestor. He felt no pressure but was instead filled with determination. The ancestor would never test him without reason. Once he succeeded, the ancestor would undoubtedly reward him, assisting him to advance further and faster on his cultivation path. All right, go back and cultivate. Guan concluded their conversation, and Enzazai immediately paid his respects and took his leave. After Enzazai departed, Guan remained by the lakeside, continuing to fish. In his eyes, the lake's surface reflected scenes of various futures. In the future, immortal gods would descend to the human world to slaughter the immortal cultivation sect, under the pretense of eradicating chaos evil demons. This was a tactic aimed at Shenyuan human venerable, who when facing the overwhelming power of the Heavenly Emperor, would have no choice but to accept the immortal gods cleansing the human world. The masses, unaware of the Celestial Court's internal conflicts, would blame the disasters brought by the Celestial Court on Shenyuan Human Venerable, causing his faith to plummet and eventually leading to his immortal position being undermined until it was stripped away by Tsongtian. Without his immortal position, the Heavenly Emperor would have countless ways to eliminate Shenyuan Human Venerable, while also reclaiming control over the 3,000 great worlds to establish a new order. The Heavenly Emperor's methods were truly ruthless and merciless. Many immortal gods believed the Heavenly Emperor resembled the Celestial Emperor the most, prompting Guan to wonder if the Celestial Emperor had once done similar things. Perhaps the 3,000 great worlds truly harbored chaos evil demons, yet the Heavenly Emperor merely desired to leave the inhabitants of the 3,000 great worlds destitute. For the sake of power struggles, he trampled on all living beings carelessly, a behavior that Guan could not condone. However, there were countless individuals like the Heavenly Emperor, and Guan realized that if he tried to manage them all, he would never have a moment of peace. Evil is itself a part of the world. Guiding toward good is the righteous Tao, but evil cannot be eradicated. Chapter 854. Battle of the Human God. Xuanyuan Human Venerable's face was fluctuating between light and shade, and the Marshal of Heaven did not urge him, patiently waiting for his decision. For a long time, Shenyuan Human Venerable let out a breath of turbid air, stood up, and walked towards the steps, with each step his sharpness fading away. When he descended the steps, he appeared utterly desolate, stopping beside the Marshal of Heaven. Marshal of Heaven, you are the commander of heavenly gods, having made countless contributions to the Celestial Court, and are regarded as the war god by all living beings. I hope that in the coming years, you can bring less suffering to the 3,000 great worlds. Shenyuan Human Venerable said softly, well aware of the consequences of the Heavenly Emperor sending immortal gods into the 3,000 great worlds. Unless an unforeseen event occurs, he, unable to touch the 3,000 great worlds, can only watch the lives suffer, shaking their faith in him. But he had no way to resist, not to mention he was no match for the Marshal of Heaven. Once he resists, the Heavenly Emperor could lodge a complaint with Tsongtian, suppressing him with the Celestial Tao, and his end would be even more miserable. The Marshal of Heaven showed no expression, not looking at Shenyuan Human Venerable. He only responded softly, I am also a Celestial Court immortal god. I have my duties. I listen to the celestial mandate, but will also uphold the immortal position. Upon hearing this, Shenyuan Human Venerable's lips curled up, and he continued stepping forward. All parties of the Celestial Court say that among the new gods, only the Marshal of Heaven has the hope to become the Celestial Tao Venerable. Now it seems you indeed have such boldness. The Marshal of Heaven turned and followed Shenyuan Human Venerable away, his expression unchanged from beginning to end. A light shone through the great world divine palace's door, lengthening their shadows, as they gradually disappeared into the golden light. The immortal gods are about to investigate the 3,000 great worlds, and only Guan and Nzazai know of this. Not even Tai Immortal Monarch, Celestial Spirit God, and other immortal gods are aware. In the blink of an eye, another 7 million years passed by. At noon on this day, Guan stood at the edge of a cliff on the mountain peak where he resided, looking up at the sky. It's finally coming. Guan saw a heavenly ascension stairs appearing in the void of a certain great thousand world, and immortal gods stepping down from it. Some of these immortal gods opened their right hands, revealing a celestial army exceeding 100,000 in number, flying out like locusts, swiftly heading in all directions of the universe. The time in the Celestial Court is different from that in the 3,000 great worlds. 7 million years is the time of the great thousand worlds, while not much time has passed in the Celestial Court. Among these immortal gods were 5 Dao Extreme Daluo immortals, who deliberately concealed their aura, but could not escape Guan's discerning eyes. This differed from the future Guan had previously seen. Since the Emperor Xian was defeated in the Celestial Spirit Great World, the destiny of this calamity changed. Initially, only one Dao Extreme Daluo immortal was to lead the army, and even without action, the immortal god army was enough to sweep across the 3,000 great worlds. Guan pulled up his attribute panel to check. Name: Guan. Lifespan: 157,690, 703/49, 662, 347, 008, 512, 977. Physique: Creation Essence Body, Cultivation level. Ultimate merging Tao Venerable Emperor Realm Perfection. 4,900,000,000,000 years lifespan. Nearly 5 trillion years lifespan. It seems a lot, but it's still far from a breakthrough. Guan took nearly 22 trillion years of lifespan to break through to the ultimate merging Tao Venerable Emperor, and has not yet accumulated the same lifespan as before. Back then, he could obtain so much lifespan mainly by relying on the evil demons from the struggle for the Son of Heaven. Killing grants lifespan far faster than planting flowers and grass. However, Guan cannot wantonly kill, as he cannot get past the hurdle in his heart. But with the descent of immortal gods, Guan saw another opportunity. This descent of the immortal gods will evolve into a war between the human gods. Even forces beyond the 3,000 great worlds will intervene, with the dark heavenly court, eternal Tao extreme, and even the underworld seizing the opportunity. Guan will have many chances to seize lifespans. In Guan's eyes, the future is still changing, as various powers interfere in the calamity of the 3,000 great worlds, altering the catastrophe. The Heavenly Emperor still underestimated the power hidden within chaos and the celestial Tao. He intended to take the 3,000 great worlds as his knife, yet others seized the chance to conspire against him. As this evolution continues, it's only a matter of time before the Heavenly Emperor enters the stage, and by then, the situation will be uncontrollable. Guan can see such a fate, surely the Celestial Emperor can too, making him curious about the Celestial Emperor's perspective on all this. The path of the Great Tao. A continent floats in the dark void, on which stands an incomparably gigantic city, with countless beings coming and going, its radiance being the only source of light in the void. In the city, within a pavilion, Liya and Zhen Qin sat facing each other at a table. Chapter 855. Before the great change until the moment they parted, Zhen Qin couldn't reveal the true situation of Wuxia, because Liya wasn't part of Wuxia yet. Naturally, she couldn't disclose all the details of Wuxia. She only needed to convey her master's intention. The fortuitous encounter with Liya made Zhen Qin admire her master's ability to deduce events even more, while also leaving a deep impression on her heart. In all heavens and myriad realms, there are countless opportunities, but the true great opportunity is still her master. Cultivating beside her master is the fastest path of cultivation. Although Zhen Qin thought this way, she didn't regret coming out. Only by broadening her horizons could she truly appreciate how precious what she had before was. Besides, she would return sooner or later, and she would earnestly reflect on everything she encountered along the way, transforming it into insights to bring back to Wuxiji disciples. Walking through the streets of the city, Zhen Qin's intense emotions grew even stronger. She suddenly thought of Shen Zhen and Shangguan Xiener who loved to write, and then of the special works of book Saint Xuan Tianyi. If she could record the majestic sights she saw in a magic artifact and bring it back, would it be more effective? However, some scenes can only be truly felt through personal experience to sense their vast Tao intent. While Zhen Qin was pondering, a large number of cultivators suddenly flew over from above, each with an imposing aura, interrupting her thoughts. She looked up, raising her eyebrows. The unusual situation in the sky attracted the attention of the living beings on the streets, and they began to discuss. It's people from Xiandao Mansion. Something significant must be happening. Don't you know? Remnants of the dark heavenly court have appeared in the 3,000 great worlds. The celestial court has dispatched immortal gods to investigate. This disturbance is even greater than the previous struggle for the Son of Heaven. Isn't the 3,000 great worlds already under Shen Yuan Human Venerable's control? Is he the one investigating? Not so, it's said that stronger forces are involved, and Shen Yuan Human Venerable might face difficulties. How do you know so much? My fellow Taoist participated in the struggle for the Son of Heaven millions of years ago. He sent me a message back then, saying that the 3,000 great worlds would undergo major changes. Since the outbreak of the struggle for the Son of Heaven, the celestial court is no longer so mysterious. At least Shen Yuan Human Venerable, Great Immortal Divine Yuan, and their subordinates, the immortal gods, have become well known across the heavens. Upon hearing them mention the 3,000 great worlds, Zhen Qin's brow involuntarily furrowed. She felt an instant urge to return, but upon further thought, realized that with her strength, she couldn't change such a catastrophe, and besides, the celestial spirit great world had Wuxia, so nothing could happen. She continued forward, attentively listening to the information along the way. Before this, she would also hear news of the heavenly court immortals, but never as much as now. The return of Xiandao Mansion's cultivators directly unleashed the internal struggles of the celestial court into the public eye, spreading throughout the entire city. Not just in this huge city, but wherever there were many living beings along the path of the Great Tao, the news was received earlier. The celestial court plans to take action on the 3,000 great worlds. The living beings who could come to the path of the Great Tao were not mere mortal spirits. They knew very well that the dispatch of so many immortal gods by the celestial court to descend would not be for a simple investigation. Old legends about the once annihilation of the 3,000 great worlds were also being unearthed, giving the cultivators on the path of the Great Tao a more profound understanding of the celestial court. In the messages that followed, the 3,000 great worlds gradually got the news. Some great worlds were jubilant because their worlds indeed had evil demons, but more great worlds felt fear, always feeling that the arrival of the immortal gods would bring trouble to the world. Thousands of years later, the news also spread into the celestial spirit great world, causing all the sects to be shaken. They too felt that the arrival of the immortal gods signaled an impending catastrophe. Within the Taoist field of the beginningless, on a ridge, thousands of Wuxia disciples gathered. Wu Xie, dressed in a white robe, stood on the slope, everyone watching him. As the breeze blew, his robe fluttered, and the robe was emblazoned with a red sparrow, closely resembling the Wuxia divine sparrow. Wu Xie said loudly, "Fellow disciples, I haven't experienced the struggle for the Son of Heaven, but based on the past, when immortal gods descend in great numbers, it's definitely not a good thing. Even if the immortal gods don't make mischief, there's inevitably a seed of calamity in the human world. If chaos arises, we Wuxia must take the lead and defend the heavens and earth." As soon as these words were spoken, the Wuxia disciples on the mountain all echoed. Search the LoveLore Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The ones who came were not the entire Wuxia, just a small group of disciples who had a good relationship with Wu Xie. Wu Xie thought this was a good opportunity. He wanted to accomplish a great deed, letting all living beings know who the true protector of heaven and earth was. And Zizai stood on a distant mountaintop, watching this scene, with a face full of gratification. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. But the Nine Extremes Great World was the first where all beings united in resistance. It must be said, the Nine Extremes Great World was indeed powerful, with over 108 golden immortals, and even a hidden ancient Miaozhen Daluo immortal. Before this, the celestial gods dared not act recklessly, maintaining good relations with the various forces of the Nine Extremes Great World, but now they had become complete enemies. Guan saw that the head of the heavenly gods, Marshal of Heaven, made a move. Though this supreme immortal was also a Miaozhen Daluo immortal, his strength was formidable, completely overwhelming the Miaozhen Daluo immortal from the other side, and each strike hit the morale of the Nine Extremes Great World. This battle doomed the Nine Extremes Great World to failure, and its former glory would be no more. But with other beings from the 3,000 great worlds within, they would spread the word of this battle, encouraging other great worlds to unite against the immortal gods sooner. Hearing Gu An's words, Shen Zhan immediately tried to deduce the situation, but unfortunately, her abilities weren't enough to calculate it. "Can you let me see?" Shen Zhan asked curiously. With a wave of Gu An's hand, Shen Zhan's pupils changed, displaying the situation of the Nine Extremes Great World. Her expression followed suit, with shock gradually climbing onto her face. Even with her cultivation level looking at it, the battle was incredible. The heritage of the Nine Extremes Great World was immense. The presence of the immortal gods was invincible, and those magical treasures larger than the heavens all stimulated her eyes. Guan did not comment on this battle, but silently watched with her. The battle lasted for many years. Even with the Miaozhen Daluo immortal suppressed, the beings of the Nine Extremes Great World did not give up their fighting spirit, still choosing to fight to the death. Search the LoveLore Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Until the entire great world fell into silence. The Nine Extremes Great World was dozens of times larger than the celestial spirit Great World, with an extremely vast number of living beings, but such a vast world turned into a human purgatory in less than a century. Some living beings were still alive but hid in the shadows, not daring to see the daylight. The presence of the roaming immortal gods appeared like evil demons in their eyes. In the void, Marshal of Heaven hovered above the Nine Extremes Great World, looking down at the celestial Tao light layer above, watching as the light layer gradually dimmed, his brows furrowed. A celestial god approached him, asking in a low voice, "Marshal, are we really doing the right thing?" Even for the celestial gods who disregard all living beings, seeing so many beings die would cause unease in their hearts. Marshal of Heaven remained expressionless, not answering. Chapter 857. The Will of All Beings. I can confirm that this time, the action against the 3,000 great worlds is not the scheme of any particular entity, but the will of the entire celestial court. The situation is far worse than we anticipated. Tai Immortal Monarch said with a frown, his face looking very grim. Upon hearing this, the celestial spirit god became even more worried, because he knew that behind this action by the immortal gods was the will of the heavenly emperor, whose true intention was to annihilate Shenyuan Human Venerable and Tian Hao. The world gate returned to normal, and the cultivators watching from afar dared not approach, leaving only the two immortal gods in silence. For a long time, Tai Immortal Monarch spoke, "What we can do is defend the celestial spirit great world. Don't think too much about anything else, the more you think, the more chaotic your mind becomes." The celestial spirit god nodded and then bowed to Tai Immortal Monarch. Tai Immortal Monarch gave him a deep look, then disappeared from the spot. The celestial spirit god sat back down and continued his cultivation, his desire to become stronger now unprecedentedly intense. The years continued to pass. The sensational war of the Nine Extremes Great World eventually spread, reaching even into the celestial spirit Great World, causing panic among all the sects in the world, but also conveying a certain power. Although the Nine Extremes Great World was defeated, the bravery it exhibited shocked all living beings. How could the immortal gods expect the mortal spirits to quietly accept death? That was never possible. A seed of rebellion against the immortal gods took root and began to sprout in the hearts of all beings. Great powers began to use their teachings to inspire all living beings to defend their own realms. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance was one such example, starting to widely publicize the tragic situation of the Nine Extremes Great World, urging all beings to abandon fantasies and prepare for battle. Some questioned whether the Nine Extremes Great World truly harbored evil demons, but such voices were quickly drowned out. A long-standing peace lulled the celestial spirit Great World into a state of confidence. No sect fell into despair, not even the most cautious Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, which still harbored a hint of hope. 3,000,000 years passed. The immortal gods had still not descended upon the celestial spirit Great World. The mass of living beings had already forgotten the shadow, yet the immortal cultivation realm remained tense. Led by the Great Thousand Worlds, they prepared to form a Great Thousand World Alliance to aid the Great World suffering devastation. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance also agreed to join, reasoning that it was better to fight far from the celestial spirit Great World than to have the enemy come knocking at their door. At noon, in the mountain viewing pavilion, Guan and Nzazai sat facing each other inside the pavilion, while Hai Yuan stood behind Nzazai, body tensed, posture somewhat stiff. The Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance came to test me. I told them outright that you are no longer in the celestial spirit Great World, and it's unknown when you'll return, to prevent them from placing all their hopes on you, Nzazai said earnestly. Ancestor Master Wuxia is the greatest backing of the celestial spirit Great World. However, Ancestor Master Wuxia rarely shows himself. The sects of the world can't fathom Ancestor Master Wuxi's thoughts, so they dare not hope for his intervention. They had no choice but to visit Nzazai, hoping to get a definite answer from his mouth. Upon hearing that Ancestor Master Wuxia had already left, the sects began preparing for war in earnest. Guan was unaffected. He would act if he wished to act. Now, the will of all living beings could no longer influence him. Ancestor, will the Wushiji disciples participate in the Great Thousand World Alliance? Nzazai looked at Guan and asked softly. Guan spoke, Wushi's responsibility is to guard the celestial spirit great world, not the 3,000 great worlds. Otherwise, this responsibility will grow ever larger, potentially leading to opposition with the celestial court. The more disciples there are, the more chaotic people's hearts become. Wuxia is too vast. Sometimes you too will find yourself dragged along by circumstances. And Zizai nodded in deep agreement. In the past, he was not fond of Wu Xie but had to cultivate him as too many disciples petitioned for Wu Xie. Guan glanced at Hai Yuan, standing behind Zizai, and smiled. Why don't you sit? Why are you standing? As a fourth-generation disciple, Guan naturally remembered Hai Yuan, serving as Zizai's right-hand man. His flaw was being too inflexible, treating people and matters the same, even maintaining conventional etiquette in front of him. Ancestor, I'm fine standing, Hai Yuan answered awkwardly, his expression becoming embarrassed, not daring to meet Guan's gaze. Guan chuckled and didn't persuade him further. Then, Zizai talked about the situation of the sects worldwide, worrying that some sects might take advantage of this calamity to strike at the Heavenly Spirit Tao Alliance, causing more disasters. Guan gave no response, avoiding revealing any destiny. Thereafter, he only listened, without speaking. Zizai also tried to gauge his ancestor's attitude, but he couldn't discern any information from his ancestor's expression or gaze. An hour later, Zizai stood up and left, with Hai Yuan following closely. Only when the two were far away did Hai Yuan finally relax. Guan did not leave the mountain viewing pavilion immediately. He beckoned with a hand, and the Wuxia divine sparrow flew over, landing on the table. At this moment, another person appeared. Second-generation disciple LV Xian. S.E. the novel, F. Iyer. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Not long ago, LV Xian had just achieved the rank of innate golden immortal, consolidating his reputation as a genius. Recently, his fame in the dojo had surged. Master, I want to venture out. What do you think? LV Xian sat down boldly at the table and asked excitedly. He had been in seclusion previously, but after hearing about the fights in the Nine Extremes Great World, his entire fighting spirit was ignited, and he wanted to challenge the immortal gods. Guan looked at him and said, "This is not a child's play. If you die out there, I will not save you. The sharpness of the celestial court is something I must avoid unless it is unavoidable." LV Xian laughed. "Don't worry, I won't act recklessly. I will visit those ruined great thousand worlds, challenge the guardian heavenly gods, and rescue the suffering living beings. If you've thought it through, then go ahead." Guan replied casually. LV Xian was overjoyed, quickly thanked him, and then got up to leave. LV Xian had barely left when Enchanting and Jiang Shi arrived. They also wanted to leave the celestial spirit great world to explore, and their reasons were much like LV Xian's. After a word of caution, Guan allowed them to go. Faced with the catastrophe brought about by the immortal gods, although most beings felt uneasy, those self-proclaimed outstanding cultivators saw it as an opportunity. Guan once again looked to the future and found that the schemes targeting Wuxia were increasing. Those great thousand worlds ravaged by the immortal gods were being invaded by another force, the dark heavenly court. They guided the surviving beings to harbor hatred for the celestial court, expanding their own power. They would encounter Wuxiji disciples and thus develop an interest in Wuxia, even alarming a dark heavenly court great power, whose cultivation level was not inferior to the Emperor Bone Profound Venerable. The great powers had yet to conceive thoughts of targeting Wuxia, but Guan had already foreseen the trajectory of events after the convergence of causality. Simultaneously, life expectancy predictions continuously popped up as his future enemies. Since Guan broke through, his karmic enemies had increasingly diminished, except recently they had grown. As he awaited visits from other disciples, Guan began searching for a suitable battlefield. He was preparing to harvest lifespans. The immortal gods, being immortal, couldn't grant him lifespans, but there were quite a few beings who, out of fear, pledged themselves to the immortal gods. Furthermore, the dark heavenly court would attract endless evil demons. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 858. Are you an immortal? The world was dim, boundless dark clouds covering the sky, the earth barren, mountains shattered. Looking around, the ground was full of pits and hollows, no flowers or grass in sight. Everything seemed so desolate, so lifeless. On a land full of broken stones, two small figures were walking forward, their bodies swaying, as if they might collapse at any moment. Leading the way was a skinny young boy, appearing 12 or 13 years old, dressed in tattered clothes, filthy all over, hair like a bird's nest, barefoot, with blood-stained ankles that had long dried. Behind him was a girl of 7 or 8, ragged and dirty like the boy ahead. She held a withered flower in her hand, her head bowed, walking slowly, the distance between her and the boy constantly widening. The boy stopped, turned, and looked at his sister, who was already 10 zhang away from him, without speaking, just quietly watching her. He waited until the girl approached him before turning to continue forward. He walked like this, stopping and going, occasionally waiting for his sister, endlessly it seemed, while the world remained perpetually dim, indistinguishable between day and night, the path visible but with no sight of bright light. Suddenly, the boy's eyes brightened. He quickly walked forward, arriving at a puddle, kneeling directly beside it, supporting himself with his hands, and began drinking the water, not caring about its murkiness, nor the floating blood also which did not catch his attention. Seeing the boy's actions, the little girl hurried her steps, stumbling to his side and kneeling down to drink with him. The siblings drank like wild animals, appearing so insignificant on this desolate land. Cough, cough. The girl suddenly sat on the ground, starting to cough violently. The boy raised his head to look at her, scolding, "Drink slower, it's just the two of us, enough for us to drink." After the girl stopped coughing, she whispered, "Sorry, brother." The boy sighed, ruffled her hair, motioned her to continue drinking. The girl lowered herself back down to drink, while the boy watched her, his heart filled with bitterness. He was from a wealthy family when he was young, eating and drinking whatever he wanted. Then in the year his sister was born, countless meteors from outer heaven crashed down, destroying the city he lived in. Only he and his sister survived by luck. He had raised her since then. Even he finds it unbelievable. Recalling the past seemed like a lifetime ago, and looking at the future, his heart was filled with limitless confusion. He was close to not being able to hold on, not understanding the meaning of living on. He had no confidence to raise his sister to adulthood because he himself did not have confidence to live a few more years. Thinking like this, he sat on the ground, looking up at the dark sky. The blue sky in his memory seemed non-existent, as if it was all in his imagination. The boy suddenly felt very tired, as if all the strength in his body had been drained. He slowly lay down, his body forming a big character. At this moment, the endless dark clouds above began to churn, rapidly forming a spectacular vortex, growing ever larger, as if to swallow the entire world. The boy widened his eyes, suspecting he was seeing things, so he rubbed his eyes, looked again. The vortex of dark clouds had grown larger, even lightning appeared, but there was no sound, like a phantom scene. He quickly sat up, patting his sister's back, motioning her to look up. The little girl looked up, immediately widening her eyes, her small mouth instinctively opening, the murky water flowing down, wetting her clothes. The siblings stared dumbly at the sky, helpless. Soon, a surge of black mist poured out from the cloud vortex, spreading over the entire world, oppressing them immensely. Gradually, the boy heard a buzzing sound. He became alert, hurriedly dragging his sister toward a nearby giant rock. The siblings hid behind the boulder, the girl covering her mouth, while the boy cautiously peeked out, his pupils suddenly dilated. It turned out it wasn't black mist, but horrifying black evil demons, the nearest demon to him flying like a mountain, scaring him into quickly pulling back, holding his sister tightly. Boom! A gust of wind roared by, stones flying wildly. The boulder behind them started to tremble, making them even more nervous and afraid, yet even so they didn't make a sound. A dark shadow swept past. The boy slightly raised his head, saw a black evil demon with wings flying toward the horizon, followed by others flying over their heads. The demons were diverse, some like humans, some like monsters, each gigantic, emitting a violent bloody scent. The boy was terribly frightened and lowered his head again, not daring to look. The sound of the demons flying was so noisy, growing louder, until it was deafening. Why were we born in such a world? Why are we alive? Father, you said there is the heavenly Tao, and there are immortals in the heavens. If there really are gods, why don't they protect us? Father, besides us, are there really other people in this world? The boy cried out in his heart. He was only 13, no matter how strong he appeared to be, facing the evil demons covering the sky, he was also afraid and despaired. He pressed down on his sister's head tightly, afraid she would see the terrifying scene above. Only, he felt a gust coming from the front, though the demons were coming from behind. How could there be wind from the front? Realizing something, his body started to shake violently. Father, I'm scared. The boy gritted his teeth tightly, but couldn't control his fear and uttered these 4 words. Suddenly, the wind from the front disappeared. The clamor of the world also abruptly ceased, the boy even more nervous, not daring to raise his head. After a long while he mustered his courage, looked up, and when he saw the scene ahead, he suddenly looked up, eyes wide open, with an expression of incredulity. In front of him stood a man in black, standing against the wind, black flames dispersing across the sky. He even saw the severed limbs of demons gradually turning to ashes. Rays of sunlight pierced through the dark clouds, illuminating the earth, one ray brushing across the boulder they hid by, following and sweeping over the man in black, extending to the horizon. The boy gazed dumbly at the back of the man in black, instinctively murmuring, "Father?" The girl heard his words, also looking up, equally startled by the man in black. "Boy, I'm not your father." A gentle voice came. The man in black turned his head to look at them, and his appearance was also astonishing to the siblings. So handsome. So good-looking. The siblings looked at the smile on Guan's face, their fear and unease receded like the tide. Are you an immortal?" the boy asked tremblingly. Sir the Nelfer. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The boy quickly got up and began to shout for the big brother, but no matter how he called, there was no response. At dusk, Guan walked along the mountain path towards his courtyard, not having fully eradicated the evil demons of one world today. He planned to proceed slowly to avoid drawing the attention of the dark heavenly court. These days, countless large worlds and little worlds suffered. Places where celestial Tao destiny was weakened were filled with bloodshed and savagery. Not just the dark heavenly court and immortal gods wreaked havoc. Many local demon cultivators and demons took the opportunity to fulfill their desires, and even ghosts and gods from the underworld descended to the human world, with battles erupting every moment. The 3,000 Great Worlds is merely a collective term. Beneath each large world lay countless little worlds, places where even the Mahayana realm is difficult to arise, outnumbering the stars. Guan intended to slowly harvest lifespans, seizing this rare opportunity to its fullest. If he encountered beings that evoked his compassion, he would not hesitate to leave them with a chance, enabling them to grow stronger independently. Overall, today's gains put Guan in a good mood. He walked along while searching for his next target, able to restore that large world to peace within 5 days, allowing him to choose his next target in advance. Notably, he saw Li Ya. Li Ya, who had been cultivating on the path of the great Tao, away from this turmoil, couldn't restrain himself after hearing about the immortal god's chaos, heading to the great thousand world to rescue all living beings. Knowing his strength was insufficient against immortal gods, he chose to save shattered large worlds, a decision that also altered his fate. Guan foresaw that Li Ya's future would reach greater heights, even paving his own path. "Senior brother, I underestimated you." Guan smiled, thinking to himself that while Li Ya had abundant opportunities, without his backing, Li Ya would have died long ago, so he viewed Li Ya's limits as far below Ji Xiaoyu's. Yet, facing the immortal's calamity, Li Ya treaded a stronger path, earning his fresh respect. He genuinely felt happy for Li Ya. He was so stubborn, unwilling to become his full-fledged subordinate, and now finally had hope. A more joyous Guan returned to the courtyard, where an Xin, rare to exit seclusion, was standing by the artifact refining cauldron, chatting with Shen Zhen. Seeing Guan, she immediately approached. "Master, I recently had some insights. Could you evaluate them?" An Xin asked expectantly. For tens of millions of years, She had almost always been in seclusion, single-mindedly pursuing the Tao. Her immortal emperor's eye became increasingly powerful, but she always felt inadequately strong, pushing ever onward. Guan replied, "Come here early tomorrow, I will take you out. You will gain something from travel." Chapter 860. Li Ya's Destiny. Guan walked through the mountains and forests with an Xian, who followed behind without asking, her eyes full of anticipation. Suddenly, the environment before Nzin's eyes changed abruptly. She found herself in a vast heaven and earth, walking with her master along a cliff. In the celestial vault hung remnants of clouds, red twilight reflecting on the sky, the undulating mountains and earth majestic and magnificent, with huge bones scattered all over the landscape. It was not the first time she experienced her master's Tungnua step technique, but she was shocked every time. She couldn't see through it at all, couldn't sense any signs, which made her sigh in her heart about the gap between herself and her master. Even with the immortal emperor's eye, she couldn't see through her master's divine skills. Next, you and I will transform into nameless cultivators to eradicate the evil ways of this realm. I permit you to use the immortal emperor's eye. Guan walked ahead, speaking. Search * the novel. F. Iyer. Et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Upon hearing this, Nzin's eyes brightened. Her immortal emperor's eye could only be used during sparring with Wushiji disciples. But those sparrings were always stopped quickly. She had never felt the limits of the immortal emperor's eye. Master, where is this place? An Xian quickened her pace, came alongside Guan, and asked softly. Her gaze turned to the distance, seeing enormous stars floating at the horizon, as if they might collide with this heaven and earth at any moment, creating a strong visual impact. This is a great thousand world once ravaged by immortal gods. I came yesterday, but haven't completely cleared the evil demons of this realm yet, Guan replied, then put forth a few requirements, forbidding an Xian from using the Tao treasure, preferably only using the immortal emperor's eye to solve enemies. Though constrained, Nzin's fighting spirit rose. To fight using only the immortal emperor's eye? Just thinking about it made her somewhat impatient. And so, Guan led an Xian to continue plundering lifespans, leaving the fighting to an Xian, but when she was about to slay the enemy, he quietly intervened, personally finishing the enemy. His mana was very concealed, even Nzin's immortal emperor's eye couldn't capture it, making her think she was truly the one who slew the evil demon. It wasn't until dusk that Guan took an Xian back to Wuxia. The next morning, he wandered with an Xian inside the Taoist field of the beginningless, picking mature medicinal herbs. No matter how many millions of years passed, the master still maintained such habits, making an Xian full of admiration in her heart. The innate golden immortal had already fallen into Nzin's illusion realm of the immortal emperor's eye, unable to perceive this, still thinking an Xian was right in front of him. He saw the hope of victory, his fighting spirit soaring higher. However, an Xian wasn't in front of him but had been following behind him, coldly watching him squander mana. Guan nodded approvingly, satisfied with Nzin's performance. Nzin's suppressive power at the same realm grew stronger in recent years. Over the past century, her use of the immortal emperor's eye greatly improved. In Guan's eyes, Nzin's future continues to unfold, her powerful figure constantly appearing. Someday, she will surely become a renowned great power in the heavenly Tao. Seemingly sensing the right moment, the giant purple eyes on the celestial dome suddenly squinted, as did an Xian, her eyes bursting with a strange purple light, making everything within the barrier turn illusory. The attacking innate golden immortal suddenly stopped. Figure after figure flew out of Nzin's eyes, all her figure, holding a treasure sword, leaping forward, one sword slicing through the innate golden immortal's body, followed closely by others. In an instant, 10,000 swords swept across, the innate golden immortal's body covered in countless cracks, and mana inside seeped out like mist, spreading around. In less than 5 breaths' time, this innate golden immortal turned to ashes and scattered away. Guan had long seen in Xin's method of taking down enemies with the illusion realm of the immortal emperor's eye, utilizing the paths of cause and effect, and fate, making it unavoidable. You successfully seized 3,594,261,102 years of lifespan from the soulless elder, late stage of innate golden immortal realm. As before Xin's opponent could die, Guan would quietly intervene, and until now, an Xian hasn't noticed anything amiss. An Xian raised a hand to catch the soulless elder's storage pouch and magical treasure, then turned to fly toward Guan. She approached Guan, handing over the two items, and he waved, storing the storage pouch and magical treasure into his sleeve, then pointed to discuss the previous battle. An Xian listened attentively. During this century, her rapid advancement in strength could not have been achieved without Guan's teaching and guidance. Now, her mentality had shifted, no longer confined to the celestial spirit great world. She began to truly resemble a great power cultivator. After a while, Guan led her back to the celestial spirit great world. After they left, the restriction ahead dissipated, a strong wind surged from within, howling across the land, declaring the fierce battle that once erupted. Under the dazzling starry sky, clouds surged endlessly, accompanied by a graceful melody from a zither. Following the sound of the zither, there was an ancient tree standing above the sea of clouds, with a white-robed man playing beneath it. His hair was white as snow, and blue feathers on his robe made his celestial aura unmistakable. A figure emerged through the clouds. It was a fairy in a white dress, wearing a silver jade phoenix crown and a light veil covering her face. Her exposed brows and eyes were exquisite and beautiful, her gaze as clear as the purest gems in the world. Tai Shang, after so many years, why have you returned to this tree again? Have you started to feel uneasy about your actions? The fairy in white skirt approached the tree and asked softly. This zither-playing white-robed man was the Heavenly Emperor. Facing her inquiry, the Heavenly Emperor did not get angry. He raised his eyes to look at her, smiling, and said, "And you, Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor, why have you come here to find me? Are you worried about the future of the celestial extreme Nine Heavens?" The Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor's expression remained unchanged as she replied, "Indeed, I'm uneasy. I don't understand why you sealed the celestial extreme Nine Heavens. Have you really changed?" The Heavenly Emperor paused his actions, looked at the Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor, and replied, "Sister, you and I are no longer the Taoist children we were back then. I am the Son of Heaven, wielding power over the celestial court. I cannot overlook the threat of the celestial extreme Nine Heavens due to personal feelings. After you accepted Emperor Chang Yu, he ventured into the Dark Heavenly Court. Over these years, the Dark Heavenly Court has swiftly infiltrated the Heavenly Taoist domain. I can sense their presence within it, so I must investigate thoroughly. If there are no issues with the celestial extreme Nine Heavens, naturally, I won't cause trouble. What about the 3,000 great worlds then? To plot against the Son of Heaven, you sacrificed so many living beings. You must have noticed, with so many chaos evil demons and underworld forces taking advantage of the situation. Yet your heavenly soldiers and generals never halted. If the celestial court truly has a mortal divine dark, I cannot help but suspect you." After saying this, the turbulent clouds froze momentarily, and the Heavenly Emperor's face turned cold, his gaze on the Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor filled with pressure, dimming even the bright starlit river above. Their gazes locked. The Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor remained unflinching. After a while, the Heavenly Emperor withdrew his gaze, resumed playing the zither and said, "Go back. You cannot change my will. Do not force me to cut off our brotherhood." The Nine Heavens Immortal Emperor looked at him deeply, saying, "Brother, have you ever wondered why the Emperor of Heaven entrusted you with such power? And after that, where is he? Is he watching you? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. A.